The Demon King, a cruel entity that has existed since ancient times, has always brought suffering to humanity. However, every time he appeared, he was defeated by a legendary warrior known as the Great Hero. Thanks to this, humanity still resists. The hero advances without hesitation. With a devastating cross-strike, he delivers the meteor break directly against the Demon King. The explosion of force is brutal, impossible to withstand. The Demon King, incredulous and weakened, tries to understand how he was defeated. Before him stands the new great hero of this era, a young man who bears the weight of the legend alone. Reluctantly, the Demon King admits the inevitable. Heroes have always emerged to defeat his lineage. He knew this day would come. Before him stands the name of this era, Leon Liberto, another in the long line of those who have marked history by defeating the Demon King. The Demon King is surprised to see Leon Liberto alone. He expected to find a hero surrounded by loyal allies, companions gained along the journey, overcoming conflicts and forming bonds. But here he stands with no one at his side. The Demon King grows irritated. For him, the hero's journey should be done as a group, winning together, recalling the battles, and crying out in joy at the end. An epic story to be told for generations. But before him stands Leon, solitary, without saying a word. Leon questions the Demon King's interest in the stories of great heroes. He reacts nervously, tries to deny it, but knows every detail. He studied the ancient heroes just to defeat them. But in the end, he doesn't understand why Leon came alone. Leon responds calmly. He came alone because he doesn't need anyone else. He knows how to use a sword and magic, heals himself, and detects traps. To him, being self-sufficient has always been enough. The Demon King, shaken, cannot understand this solitude. Leon has heard enough. Unconcerned with speeches or dramas, he raises his sword. To him, it all boils down to this: ending the threat. Without hesitation, he declares the end of the Demon King. The blade cuts through the darkness. It's the final blow. Elsewhere, far from the battlefield, an ordinary morning begins with someone shouting from the window, telling them to get out of bed. A boy wakes up startled. Once again, he had that strange dream. So vivid, it felt real. The angry voice from outside calls him trash and demands that he get up. He frequently dreams the same thing, facing the Demon King as a great hero. He knows that this legendary hero truly existed, but in real life, everything feels too distant. Even though it's just a dream, he wishes it were a little more real. The boy's name is Leon. He was named after his mother, who died shortly after his birth. It was a tribute to the greatest hero in history, Leon Liberto, a real warrior who lived 100 years ago. The name came with hope, but the current world seems to ignore it. Leon is scolded early in the morning. His older brother, Snail, treats him with disdain, even though he's within the agreed time. Without reacting, Leon simply apologizes and proceeds in silence, used to being treated this way. In fact, Leon is just the illegitimate son of a local nobleman. He lives as a servant in his own house, treated as trash by his half-brother, the legitimate heir of the family. His life is far from that of a great hero. Leon was dragged into a monster hunt, only to carry his brother's bags. He feels weak, useless. If he had the strength of the hero in his dreams, maybe he wouldn't be so worried now. But reality is far different from fantasy. Snail arrives arrogantly and blames Leon for being late. The friends, excited, talk about killing monsters and watching Snail in action. The destination, the West Forest. Some of their reactions show that this place isn't normal, and it might be dangerous. Even with the adults' warnings and the friends' fear, Snail ignores everything. He says he doesn't care if there are 100 goblins in the forest. He feels invincible. He proudly displays his sword, too confident to notice the real risk. Everyone is impressed with Snail's sword, a legendary weapon that, according to him, once belonged to the great hero of the past. Leon watches in silence, surprised. The question arises, how did he get the hero's sword? But Snail only smiles, full of pride. Snail tells that his ancestor fought alongside the legendary hero to defeat monsters in the region. As a reward, the hero supposedly gave him the sword. With this, Snail believes he can easily face goblins or even an orc. The friends are impressed, but Leon remains insecure. Snail takes action and easily eliminates a goblin. With a quick, accurate strike, he demonstrates confidence and strikes a victory pose in front of the others, bragging as if he were a true hero. The boys are impressed with the sword's cut. Not even the city guards can cleave a goblin like that. Snail shows off even more. Leon watches, silently, tense. So far, only one goblin has appeared. But if they come in a group, will they manage? Snail's friends have hunted monsters before and don't seem to have trouble with goblins. Snail is strong, and the sword does what it promises. Meanwhile, Leon feels out of place. Small, weak, and inexperienced. He's never held a sword, and no one includes him in the fights. Which, deep down, relieves him. He's terrified of all this. Suddenly, the forest erupts into chaos. A whole group of goblins charges toward them. There are more than 10, a whole pack. Leon freezes in fear, his heart racing. The game is over. Snail tries to maintain his stance and shouts not to panic. He says he'll defeat all the goblins alone. But the group is already surrounded. Even with the goblins' numerical advantage, Snail's group fights well, at least for now. But then Leon notices something strange in the bushes. His eyes widen as he sees a much larger creature. A black goblin, imposing, silently appears, and it hasn't been noticed by the others yet. Leon faces a giant goblin. Every step the creature takes shakes the ground. Its eyes gleam with fury, and Leon can barely breathe. This is no ordinary enemy. It's a threat far beyond what they can handle. It's not just a giant goblin. It's an ogre. A mid-level monster, much stronger than any common goblin. Leon freezes upon realizing what's before them. None of them are prepared for this. The group panics upon seeing the ogre approaching. Everyone knows it's impossible to defeat it. Except Snail. Still trapped in his arrogance, he says the sword will handle it. But the fear in the other's eyes says otherwise. No one believes this bravado. Snail attacks with confidence, thinking the sword will fix everything. But the ogre easily intercepts the blow, grabbing the blade with its own hands. The smile fades from Snail's face. Now he understands the true danger. Panic spreads. The boys drop everything and flee, desperate to survive. Leon tries to run too, but before he can take his first step, Snail, overwhelmed by fear, throws Leon to the ground and pushes him toward the ogre. Without hesitation, he offers him as bait. He says Leon was brought just for this, to die in his place. Leon can barely believe what he's hearing. Betrayed, humiliated, thrown to die. Before the ogre, Leon goes into shock. The creature approaches, about to kill him. He feels like he's going to die there. But then, a voice echoes in his mind. A familiar presence. Cold, confident, as if mocking the idea. An ogre? Kill you? Leon tries to deny it. He says he's never even defeated a goblin. That it was just a dream. He's just a weak bastard, talentless, with no sword. But the voice ignores all that, and insists, "You defeated the Demon King? Forgot?" Something changes within Leon. The fear disappears as if it had never existed. His hands stop trembling. He opens the box before him and calmly touches the sword, as if he already knew exactly what to do. With steady eyes and determined steps, Leon moves forward. The sword is now in his hands, but it's his gaze that impresses the most. Calm, determined, as if he'd faced death before. The ogre prepares, but it's too late. With a single cut, Leon severs the ogre's arm. Blood pours out, and the monster barely understands what happened. The blade has passed, clean and precise. Leon doesn't hesitate, doesn't tremble. Now he dominates the scene. The ogre screams in agony. Leon watches the sword in his hands, not believing it. He asks himself, "I cut this?" The mysterious voice responds with disdain. This was child's play. There was no one else. It could only have been him. The ogre tries to attack again, but Leon doesn't retreat. With a clean, precise movement, he cuts the creature's chest from top to bottom. The monster barely has time to react. Leon watches the ogre's broken body on the ground, still not understanding. He knows how tough these creatures are. But even so, he cut through the flesh, the bones, the spine. The voice returns, cold and confident. "If it were me, I'd do it with a twig." Leon stares at his own hand. The light in his eyes shifts. The memories come rushing back all at once. Swords, battles, the Demon King, the end of the world. He isn't dreaming. He was the hero. And now he remembers everything. In the past, he was the greatest hero in history, strong enough to carry the world alone. And now, he's back. He understands now. The legendary hero from 100 years ago was reborn. The soul of Leon Liberto awakens in the rejected boy, with the sword in hand and a new destiny ahead. He stares at the sword coldly. Weak, common, worthless. In his past life, he would have sold it without a second thought. But the ground he stands on now, something stirs in his memory. Even with another body and another time, this land feels familiar. He recalls the mission. 100 years ago, he came to this village just to eliminate monsters. The mayor's son, with greedy eyes, guided him, and ended up receiving a random sword as payment. Now, seeing that it became a legendary reward makes him face it with irony. The story was distorted far too much. Leon appears before the others, unharmed. Surprise overtakes the group, especially Snail, who desperately asks about the ogre. Without emotion, Leon simply responds that he killed it. The revelation shocks them, and no one seems to believe what they've just heard. Snail laughs in disdain at Leon's claim, mocking the idea that he could have defeated an ogre. He says the monster only ignored him because he was too weak to be a threat. But the expression changes when Leon, without hesitation, throws the sword back. The cold, confident attitude leaves Snail surprised and speechless. Leon, with cold calm, tells Snail to shut up. He says he's talking too loudly. The bully, irritated, prepares to react with a punch, but is interrupted when Leon throws something in his direction. Snail catches it reflexively and freezes when he realizes what he's holding: the ogre's head. The shock takes over. The ogre's head rolls across the ground and stops right in front of the other boys, who recoil in fear. Snail, still processing what he's seeing, tries to confront Leon angrily, but when he turns to him, Leon has already disappeared. Confused and nervous, Snail looks around, not understanding how he vanished so quickly. Leon returns home and is greeted by a gelatinous creature, whom he calls Sura. He reveals that he found the slime about 2 years ago, injured, after wandering accidentally into the backyard. After treating it with medicinal herbs, the little monster started following him. Since then, Leon has kept it hidden as a pet in his room. Even though it's considered the weakest monster of all, the slime has become his only companion who can cheer him up after tough days. Leon believes he's the reincarnation of the legendary hero, and now that his memories have returned, he begins to reflect on various gaps in his past history. He realized that although there are books that recount his heroic deeds, especially his victory over the Demon King, they all end with him living happily ever after. However, nothing is said about what happened after that victory. There are no records of his death or any later deeds, and Leon feels there's much to investigate. His goal now is to understand what really happened after that final confrontation. Leon notices the strangest detail of all. Even though he has regained the memories of his past life as the great hero, he can't remember what happened after defeating the Demon King. The only vivid memory he has is the repeated scene in his dreams, the moment of the final confrontation. With a snap, he realizes that something happened at the exact moment he defeated the enemy. It was there, in that decisive moment, that a terrible curse was cast upon the hero. This revelation raises even more questions about his death and the reason behind his reincarnation. The curse cast by the Demon King was carefully crafted to activate at the exact moment of his death. This specific condition is what made the magic so powerful. Even the great hero trying to dispel it immediately was caught off guard. His magic was sealed the moment the curse was cast. That wasn't a common curse, but a final, desperate spell designed to drag the hero down with the villain, sealing his strength and ending his story, at least for a time. The hero, poisoned by the Demon King's curse, tried to react quickly by drinking an antidote potion. However, he was caught by another hidden effect: paralysis. His body stopped responding, leaving him completely immobile. Unable to defend himself or finish drinking the antidote, he lost consciousness. The official narrative ends there. Presumably, he died. But now, reborn as Leon, he awakens from that memory with a bitter feeling. The greatest legend of humanity fell silently, without glory, and without answers. In the end, the hero and the Demon King both fell together. Even though the hero was superior in strength, he made a fatal mistake. He was careless. Leon begins to reflect. A confrontation of that level would normally require a whole group. Why did he go alone? And who is the voice questioning him now? Leon understands the reason for the hero's fall. The curse that hit him was too powerful, probably made to target only one person. If he had brought allies, he might have been saved. Alone, the hero had no chance. The curse's restriction increased his power, sealing his magic and making any reaction impossible. But now Leon awakens to the new reality. There's no point in lamenting. He accepts the past and prepares to move forward. He starts analyzing his own abilities, comparing his current strength to what he had in his past life. The doubt about how he managed to defeat an ogre in this new body indicated that not all powers were lost. To confirm this, he activated one of his old abilities, evaluation. Using the technique still worked, reinforcing the idea that part of his old power had been preserved. Upon checking his status, he discovered that his species level was much lower than it was in his previous life. Despite this, he still maintained the advanced ranks from his past incarnation: Master Swordsman, Supreme Mage, Saint, and Royal Thief, all at maximum level. This confirmed that even with his young and weak body, his potential remained intact. Professions in this world defined each person's path. The higher the level in a profession, the greater the gains in strength and skill. Reaching level 20, max level, made it possible to even receive a blessing from a deity. For a few, those who completely mastered their craft, an even more powerful blessing was granted, elevating their abilities to a nearly legendary level. In his past life, he reached the highest rank in 4 different archetypes, advancing in class when reaching level 20 in each. The system only allowed one active profession at a time, but upon reaching the limit, it was possible to switch to another in the same line or even a completely different one. After reincarnation, his species level was reset to 1, but the status of all his professions remained intact. This was the reason he could face the Demon King alone. Even with the species level still low, his attributes were already at rank S, thanks to the bonuses inherited from his professions: strength, endurance, dexterity, agility, magic, and luck, all elevated above what would be expected from a level 3. Compared to his past life, where everything was rank SSS, this seemed small, but it was still an extraordinary feat. Moreover, he still had 300 profession points available for use. He understood how profession points worked. As his species level rose, he gained more points that could be used to acquire new positions. In his previous life, he reached level 100 and accumulated enough points to master all the major classes. Now, even with only 300 points, he began to consider the possibility of going even further than before. He calmly analyzed the structure of the professions. Each position had 3 levels: initial, intermediate, and advanced. And the higher the level, the more points were required. In his past life, he had conquered 4 complete archetypes, each reaching its peak. Reviewing this information confirmed the solid base he still carried within himself. He mentally revisited the 4 archetypes he had mastered in his previous life. The Thief, evolving to the King of Thieves. The Swordsman, reaching the title of Swordmaster. The Healer, culminating in the status of Saint. And the Mage, ending with the position of Grand Mage. Each class represented a complete journey, and now, even with his body reset, all this power remained within him. Even with only level 3 in his new life, he already had 300 profession points, an absurd amount for anyone at this stage. In the past, every time he leveled up, he received far more than the usual amount. This trait, it seemed, remained with him after reincarnation, a clear confirmation that, even limited in species, he still carried a unique inheritance of power. In addition to the common classes, there were extra jobs, rare roles that didn't follow any of the traditional lineages. By mastering both Swordsman and Mage, it was possible to reach the Sword Wizard class. Combining Knight and Priest unlocked the path to becoming a Paladin. Finally, combining mastery in both magic and healing opened the possibility to become a Sage. These roles required multiple paths and offered unique powers, the result of the fusion between distinct archetypes. He reflected on the possibility of reaching the classes he had left behind in his previous life. To do so, he would need to gather the 10,000 points used to reach the 4 main archetypes. In his past life, no points remained to invest in the extra jobs, even though he would have liked to become a sword wizard or sage. Now, with the chance to start over, the question arose, which path should he follow? Once the role was chosen, there would be no going back. It was a decision that required caution. Leon decided to visit the local church, the only place where new roles could be acquired. There, he intended to carefully examine the available class tree before making any decisions. He knew the system required a special ability called prayer, taught only to those within the priest archetype. With this in mind, he bid farewell to the Slime Sura and left once more, focused on defining his new path. Upon arriving at the church entrance, Leon is confronted by one of the boys who always tries to impose authority. The boy demands an explanation, angry that Leon left without informing anyone. Despite the scolding, Leon remains calm and responds with indifference, just as he did in his past life, making the other even angrier. As he tries to remember how he used to deal with him, Leon notices his way of speaking has changed almost automatically. The boy advances with a direct attack, fueled by anger. His movements are rough and loud, but to Leon they seem too slow. He watches everything coldly, without rushing or worrying, as if dealing with something trivial. To him, there's no need to even dodge. The attack lands squarely, but the impact doesn't reach Leon. A skill activates at the exact moment. The energy is reflected, amplified, and sent back. The attacker, caught off guard, is thrown violently away, falling unconscious. Leon remains still, not even lifting a hand. Leon watches the fallen enemy on the ground, unconscious. The initial surprise fades into a memory. He had completely forgotten about his counterattack ability. It was so natural in his past life that he barely paid attention. The blow he received automatically triggered double reflex, returning the damage double. Against a weak enemy, it was more than enough. Leon approaches the unconscious body on the ground. The opponent is alive but knocked out. The force of the counterattack had been stronger than necessary. While assessing the situation, he notices that the boy's nose is crooked. The calm of the moment is broken by a desperate voice in the distance. Someone running towards him, fury in their eyes and a club in hand. The boy's mother arrives in desperation, shouting his name and trying to wake him up. Leon watches in silence, aware that the situation is about to get even more complicated. Assessing the scene, he decides it would be better to leave discreetly before the woman turns her fury on him. While she holds her son and demands explanations, Leon quietly steps away, trying to avoid further trouble. Leon remains calm, even in the face of the woman's furious accusations. She shouts, accusing him of doing something to her son, refusing to accept that he just passed out. Anger fills her voice as she declares that Leon is nothing more than the son of a despised woman, insinuating that he should never have been taken in by that family. To her, his presence there has always been a mistake. Despite the insults and hostility, Leon remains unfazed. The difference in their reactions clearly shows the distance between them. Not allowing herself to be shaken by the accusations, Leon ends the conversation calmly, stating that he has matters to resolve. Without changing his tone or showing any concern, he walks away calmly, leaving the woman confused and speechless. She tries to call him back, but he continues his path without hesitation, indifferent to her shouts. Leon arrives at the church, where he is promptly attended by a nun who guides him to the room where the class tree is located. He asks to check the available job options. The nun places a magic orb on a pedestal, activating the consultation process. Leon watches attentively as the environment around him seems to come alive with magic. Leon watches closely as the orb glows, releasing a tree of diagrams that reveals the available jobs to him. He notices that, just like in his past life, many jobs are accessible from the start. However, he also realizes that, while some classes can be learned, others are innate. The tree is the same as before, reflecting the choices and limitations of the job system in this new world. In front of the job tree, Leon evaluates his options. He considers Sage to be the best choice, but also contemplates other possibilities, such as anti-hero, and new archetypes like fighter or hunter, to expand his combat abilities. Despite the options, he realizes that, deep down, he no longer feels the need to be strong. In his past life, he was chosen as a hero candidate at 10 years old. Since then, every day had been consumed by training with the sole purpose of defeating the Demon King. The search for strength dominated his existence, making his journey extremely difficult. Now, in a world where there is no longer a Demon King, and without being an adventurer, he recognizes the weight of that past, and his absolute dedication to power. This time, he awakens in a peaceful world, far from the conflicts of the past. Now free from the shackles of his former mission, he allows himself to imagine a life where he doesn't need to fight constantly. For the first time, there's a chance to live lightly, without obligations tying him to the burden of strength. He finds the Tamer class in the job diagram. Upon analyzing the abilities, he considers the possibility of communicating with monsters and animals. The idea of understanding what Sura thinks attracts him, and this role begins to seem more valuable than any brute strength. He recognizes Sura's attachment, even though he can't fully understand the creature's feelings. Without eyes or a mouth, communication is difficult, but the bond is clear. Decided to better understand his companion, he chooses the Tamer class, believing this will be the best way to get closer to Sura. Leon returns from the church and is approached by a maid from the mansion. She informs him that the master wishes to see him to discuss the incident involving Lord Snail. Showing no reaction, he listens to the message and prepares to face yet another unwanted conversation. The door opens, and a woman appears with a boy by her side. Inside the room, everyone turns their attention to him. A man with a worried expression stands up from the couch, clearly relieved but still tense. He stares seriously at the boy, showing that he was expecting an explanation. The boy remains silent before him. Leon explains that he was at the church. The family watches him with tension, and the atmosphere becomes heavy. Lloyd, the father, asks if he really hurt Snail. The blond boy, visibly irritated, points to his own injured face and confirms, saying it was Leon's fault. Meanwhile, Leon remains silent, staring seriously at the scene. Leon confirms what was said without hesitation, remaining calm. Then a woman strikes him across the face. She becomes agitated, calling him violent and accusing him of acting against his own older brother. The situation spirals out of control when she insinuates that his behavior comes from his mother, while everyone in the room grows even more tense. The woman screams, demanding that Leon be expelled immediately, worried about the family's reputation. She insists that keeping a boy like him would stain their name. The father, however, hesitates and reminds her that Leon is still only 12 years old. Leon watches everything in silence, realizing that his father has no intention of kicking him out of the house. Leon recalls that his mother worked as a servant in this mansion. They say she was so beautiful that his father couldn't resist. He imagines that his father carries some guilt for this, which might explain his hesitation to expel him. Even so, Leon seems to stay grounded in the situation. Leon decides to leave on his own, saying that he doesn't need anyone's sympathy. The woman reacts with sarcasm and joy, provoking him by saying that he finally understood that he's just a burden to everyone there. The father observes in silence, surprised by the boy's decision. The woman mocks Leon's decision and insists that he be sent away immediately, emphasizing that at 12 years old, children of peasants would already be working. She laughs loudly, saying he's just the son of a maid. The father tries to argue, remembering Leon's age, but is ignored. Leon's father suggests sending him to work with a merchant family, but Leon interrupts him and says that won't be necessary. He then declares firmly that he's going to become an adventurer. Everyone in the room reacts with surprise at the boy's sudden decision. Leon thinks about the path he has chosen. Adventurers belong to a guild and undertake exploration or combat missions to make money. It's a common choice among poor people or children from humble neighborhoods who want to change their lives. Unlike nobility in this path, what matters are achievements and strength, not social status. Leon thinks about the difficulties of an adventurer's life. They don't have a fixed salary, have to pay for their own equipment, and constantly face danger. Even so, he remembers his past life, when he fought alongside adventurers against the Demon King's army, even though, at that time, he worked alone. Meanwhile, his father questions how he plans to fight, since he apparently has no skills. Leon tries to calm his father down and says he recently got a combat job at the church. His father and others react with surprise and distrust. Snail, irritated, accuses Leon of lying, saying that someone his age would never be able to get such a job. Snail keeps complaining, saying that even he with a high level hasn't been able to get a job yet. Leon realizes that his brother only has common skills. Decided, he informs them that he's leaving home and that he can manage on his own, asking them not to worry about him anymore. Leon arrives in a simple new room and is soon greeted by a gelatinous creature that jumps up excitedly. He crouches down, curious and surprised, and seems to be able to understand what the creature is feeling. Gradually, he begins to get used to the new environment. Leon interacts with the gelatinous creature, testing different types of affection and noticing that it reacts the same way to all of them. He thinks that he wouldn't have noticed this difference before. Meanwhile, his father appears in the doorway and calls to him, with a serious but restrained expression. Leon's father appears in the doorway and, with a calmer look, hands him a bag full of coins. Leon asks if he's sure about this, surprised by the gesture. Despite everything, his father wanted to at least ensure that his son had something to start his journey. Leon's father hands over the money with regret, saying that he would like to be a good father but apologizes for only being able to do this. Leon accepts the help without resistance. thinking that it will make his journey easier. As his father walks away, the boy calmly watches the bag of coins. Leon begins to store his things in a magical bag called Item Box, which stores objects in another dimension. He observes that, although it is not infinite, the bag's capacity is 2 to 3 times greater than the room he's in. While organizing his things, Leon remembers that, in his previous life, he had a much more powerful magical bag, capable of storing valuable items and with enough space to store nearly an entire village. Despite the difference, he is grateful for the chance to be reborn and start over, now with everything clean and ready to move forward. The next morning, Leon informs the gelatinous creature that he is leaving home. The small creature reacts with surprise and fear, but soon becomes excited when it realizes it will be coming along. Leon smiles and confirms that it will accompany him on his new journey. Leon says goodbye to his father, thanking him for everything, and prepares to move forward. He leaves excited with his gelatinous companion, feeling finally free from that life. With a smile on his face, he breathes in the fresh air and faces the future with lightness and determination. As he walks calmly with his gelatinous partner, Leon realizes he is being followed by several people. They try to act like ordinary passers-by, but he notices that they are clearly watching his every step. Soon a figure approaches, smiling suspiciously, and calls out to him, interrupting his journey. Snail appears, leading a group of people, with an arrogant smile on his face. He says he gathered everyone there specifically to celebrate his younger brother's departure. Provocatively, he tells Leon to be grateful for his dedication, making it clear that his intentions are not friendly. Snail reveals his true intentions, saying that he is out of money, implying that he wants to take what Leon received from their father. Leon immediately understands the reason for the approach and responds calmly, saying that it's a shame. He then asks Snail to get out of the way, showing that he has no intention of yielding. Snail begins to laugh, thinking that Leon still doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. He demands that Leon hand over the money, threatening to resort to violence. Leon remains calm and looks at them firmly, questioning what would happen if he simply refuses. This infuriates Snail even more, and he orders his lackeys to attack. One of the guys rushes at Leon, but is thrown back with a reflected strike. A magic circle appears, activating an ability called Double Reflex, which rebounds the attack with force. Snail panics upon seeing his ally being knocked down effortlessly and orders the others to attack for real. Leon remains standing, calm, while the enemies advance. Leon activates the Double Reflex ability again, and the enemies' attacks are sent back with full force. Several are thrown away and fall to the ground, defeated. He mentally explains that, although activation is not guaranteed, his abilities as a sword master greatly increase the chances of success. Without even moving, Leon neutralizes all of them easily. Snail's lackeys are shocked to see Leon defeat several of them without even moving. Desperate, Snail screams for them to attack from a distance, and one of them obeys, throwing a stone. Leon watches in silence as the attack approaches, showing no concern. Leon activates Double Reflex once again, and the stone thrown at him comes back with full force, hitting the aggressor in the face and knocking him to the ground. With a calm expression, Leon explains that this ability works even from a distance, leaving everyone around even more surprised. Snail's lackeys panic, realizing that Leon is much stronger than they thought. Losing patience, Snail explodes with anger, calls them all useless, and decides to act on his own. With an arrogant smile, he draws a knife, ready to attack personally. Snail provokes Leon, telling him to show if he really has any combat skills. Unmoved, Leon simply picks up a stick from the ground calmly and says that this will be enough. Even in the face of the threat, he remains calm and confident. Snail shouts furiously and confusedly, asking what Leon is doing. Leon, with a calm look, responds that he was just thinking how that simple stick was enough to defeat him. The provocation makes Snail even angrier, his face trembling with rage. Snail charges forward with everything, screaming with anger, but Leon is already expecting this. As he watches the reckless attack, Leon wonders if he really never learns. With a quick and precise movement, he prepares to counterattack, knowing that facing someone without thinking is always dangerous. Snail tries to attack with his knife, but Leon easily dodges and breaks the weapon with a sharp movement using the stick. Surprised and scared, Snail barely understands what happened before being thrown away. Lying on the ground, he hears Leon mocking him, telling him to be more careful next time. Leon declares with a smile that the fight is over. Snail, on the ground and in shock, screams that it's impossible, asking what technique that was. Leon, confused, responds that he simply made a cut with the stick. Snail refuses to accept this, saying that there's no way that Twig could have broken his sword, but Leon remains calm, as if everything was obvious. Leon demonstrates naturally how he used the stick, repeating the movement on the ground. The moment he touches the floor, the impact is so strong that the entire ground around him cracks, creating huge fissures. Snail falls into despair, screaming in disbelief at what he just saw. Leon makes one more movement with the stick, this time towards the sky. Then, a huge explosion of energy hits the horizon with a crash, lighting up everything around. The others watch in complete shock, their faces filled with pure terror and astonishment at the power Leon just displayed. Leon reveals that the stick he used wasn't ordinary. He explains that it's a branch from the legendary World Tree, known to have strength that rivals Orichalcum. With a smile on his face, he says it's an extremely powerful weapon, far superior even to a hero's sword. Everyone around is even more surprised by the revelation. Leon throws the stick into the air and says that he can give it to them, mentioning that it would be worth at least 100 gold coins. The boys get fixated on the idea and in an instant begin to fight among themselves, shouting that the stick is theirs. Leon watches the scene with boredom and even sticks his tongue out, clearly enjoying the chaos. Snail manages to grab the stick and starts laughing, boasting about having the legendary stick in his hands. He raises it with strength, proudly showing it to the others. Leon watches from a distance and thinks that if he keeps waving it around like that, and before he can finish the thought, the stick snaps with a sharp crack, leaving everyone in shock. Snail looks confused as the stick breaks in his hand, not understanding what happened. The others also begin to doubt if it was really a legendary weapon. When they realize, Leon is already gone from the location. Amid the confusion, he is already on his way, and thus begins his new journey. Leon sets off on the road with his gelatinous companion, looking ahead with determination. He decides to head for a city with an adventurer's guild. With the past left behind, he begins the lighthearted and carefree journey of a reincarnated adventurer, ready for whatever comes ahead. During the journey in a cart, one of the passengers notices Leon's interest and asks if he plans to become an adventurer. Leon responds that yes, while holding his gelatinous partner in his lap. Curious, the others say they would like to hear his stories, already interested in the mysterious boy they've just met. The two adventurers introduce themselves. The boy's name is Ryan, a fighter with rank D. The girl's name is Naya, also rank D and works as a mage. When Leon shows that he doesn't know what rank means, Nia explains that adventurers are ranked from F to S, according to their skills and mission history. Nia continues explaining that ranks F and E are for beginners, D for adventurers with some experience, and C for those who have already established themselves in the profession. Leon, curious, asks about ranks SS and SSS, wondering if they still exist. He mentally comments that maybe the system has changed in the past 100 years. Nonetheless, Naya says that, due to his age, it might be a bit hard for him to start as an adventurer. As they continue their journey, the group spots a fight in the distance. Two adventurers are surrounded by bandits. Naya gets scared, but Leon quickly identifies that they are in trouble. Ryan notices there are many enemies and asks if they'll be able to handle it. Nia says that everything depends on the skills of the two in danger. At the same time, one of the bandits notices the cart approaching and shows a sinister smile, already with bad intentions. The bandit group introduces themselves as Madhouse, the most feared gang in that region. Ryan and Naya are visibly frightened when they hear that name. Ryan explains that the Adventurers Guild has tried to defeat them before, even sending high-level adventurers, but they ended up suffering heavy losses. Leon, curious, asks if they are famous, and Ryan confirms, saying that the group is known for their strength in battle. The bandits demand all the money and say they will take the women, laughing threateningly. Nia and Ryan become tense, unsure of what to do. Leon watches everything calmly and begins to prepare, thinking that he doesn't need to go easy on them this time. Leon activates a powerful magic. A large magic circle appears behind him, and a sandstorm begins to form. The bandits are caught off guard and start screaming as they are thrown away by the force of the magic. The dust covers the field, and even the other adventurers have to protect themselves. The adventurers look at Leon in surprise and ask what that spell was. He responds as if it's simple, calling the magic a sandstorm. They comment that it's a fusion of earth and wind, and Leon, confused, says that he only wanted to capture the bandits, since they seem to have committed other crimes. The others are indignant, saying that wasn't the problem, while Leon still thinks maybe he should have used something stronger. Leon looks at the defeated bandits and thinks about what to do with them. Since they don't fit in the cart, he considers having to carry them. The adventurers around him are still in shock, trying to understand how he casts such a strong spell without even using an incantation. Leon simply announces that he is leaving and tosses the unconscious bandits into a corner with ease. While everyone is still in shock, a girl with spiky hair rushes towards him, and the adventurers watch everything without understanding what's going on. Leon calmly reaches the city gates and hands a group of tied-up bandits to the guard, saying that he captured them on the road. The guard is completely surprised, unable to understand how a boy managed to do something like that alone. Leon walks through the city, observing that the place remains almost the same. While the guard tries to understand what happened with the delivered bandits, Leon is already far away. Soon after, Leon reaches the Adventurers Guild and decides that it's time to officially register. Leon enters the guild and soon notices a statue that catches his attention. Upon closer inspection, he immediately recognizes it. It's him. The receptionist explains that the statue is of a legendary hero who saved the world about 100 years ago by defeating the Demon King. The hero's name, Leon Liberto. Leon asks why the statue of that hero is in the guild. The receptionist responds that there are statues of him all over the world since he is considered a hero of humanity. She also comments that all guilds have one, and that he was not only strong, but also very handsome, clearly showing how much he is idolized. Leon arrives at the guild and says he wants to register as an adventurer. The receptionist introduces herself as Shilwe and asks his age. Surprised to learn that he is 12 years old, she comments that at his age, he shouldn't be able to choose a profession. But he replies saying that he already chose the beast tamer role and presents the creature accompanying him, named Sura. The guild receptionist analyzes Leon's situation and comments that she wouldn't recommend the beast tamer profession for someone who wants to be an adventurer. She observes that his creature is just a slime and explains that this type of ability is ineffective against stronger beasts. She also mentions that tamers generally don't do well in combat unless they reach a high class, like Arch-Tamer, which would still take many years for him. The receptionist explains that standing out as a tamer from the beginning is very difficult, but that he needs to register to take the test. She leads the boy to the counter, gives him the form, and instructs him to fill in the information. She tells him not to lie, especially if he has any criminal history, though she believes that at his age, that shouldn't be a problem. The guild staff informs him that the exam will be early the next morning. When he asks how the test will be, she explains that it depends on the type of job, but in the case of Beast Tamer, it will probably involve a simulated battle. He will have to face the examiner to demonstrate his skills. The candidates gather for the exam, and the atmosphere is tense. The examiner, Zaraga, appears and warns that he will be strict. He says he can't let a weak person pass and die later, so he will judge everyone harshly. He then immediately selects the first candidate to start the test. Zaraga begins testing the candidates and rejects all of them mercilessly. Some are easily knocked down, others can barely react. He criticizes them, saying that, at this rate, they would be eaten by beasts. The onlookers are surprised by his strength, recognizing that no one there is on the same level. Leon watches everything, already imagining how demanding his test will be. Zaraga calls Leon, surprised to see that he's just a child, and on top of that, a monster tamer. He mocks him, saying that even a stray dog would defeat the slime. Leon asks if Sura wants to fight, and the slime responds with determination, ready to face the challenge. Leon observes the situation and thinks that the examiner won't kill the slime. Meanwhile, the other candidates find it funny that he's using a slime as a partner, saying that it seems like he's not even taking the test seriously. Zaraga sighs, irritated, and wonders why he has to fight against a slime. Even so, he accepts that it's part of the job. Meanwhile, Sura, the slime, growls seriously, preparing for the fight. Sura charges at the examiner with full force, surprising him with the strength of the attack. The slime rebounds with impact, forcing the man to retreat and defend himself. He tries to counterattack, but Sura bounces from side to side, dodging with agility. Irritated, the examiner starts shouting, not understanding how a slime is able to face him like this. The examiner tries to hit Sura but can't keep up with the slime's fast movements. Sura strikes directly in his chest with force, making the man retreat again. The audience starts to realize that the slime is dominating the fight, leaving everyone confused. Leon watches, not understanding how this is possible. Leon decides to check Sura's status and is surprised by the results. Strength B, Endurance A, Dexterity B, Magic B, Luck B. While observing, he wonders if all slimes are like this, or if Sura belongs to a higher class. On the other side, the examiner continues trying to hit Sura unsuccessfully. Zaraga falls to the ground and admits defeat. Leon remembers that companion creatures get stronger with the master's mana. Sura celebrates the victory. The audience begins to wonder how a slime managed to defeat a C-ranked fighter. Zaraga, incredulous, acknowledges the damage he's taken and doesn't understand how he was defeated by a simple slime. Leon asks how he did on the exam, and Zaraga, still on the ground, confirms that he passed. Even surprised by the slime's strength, he admits that he couldn't fail someone who defeated the examiner. Leon finds it strange that a veteran is so weak. Zaraga advises him to join a group as soon as possible, as he still relies on just one creature. The receptionist is surprised to hear that Leon passed the exam and even received an A, as Zaraga is known to be quite strict. She is even more shocked when she reads the comments saying that Leon defeated the examiner. He comments that Sura worked really hard. Then, he says that there's something he would like to ask. Leon asks if rank SSS still exists. The receptionist responds that not exactly, explaining that the requirements are so absurd that no adventurer is currently capable of fulfilling them. To reach this level, one would need to defeat a behemoth alone. Leon finds this surprising, but not that difficult, and then asks about rank SS. The receptionist says that ranks SS and SSS no longer exist. Currently, the highest rank is S, but even so, to reach it, one must be strong enough to defeat a disaster-level king alone. She explains that there are very few S-rank adventurers in the world, and the requirement is to defeat a disaster-level red dragon. Leon asks why there are so few, and she replies that, in the time when the Demon King was still alive, there were many adventurers of rank SS and SSS, but there were also beasts much more powerful than those now. The narrator explains that the Demon King's mana made the beast stronger and more aggressive, but it has been 100 years since he was defeated. With the world in peace, the beast became weaker, which also weakened humanity. Because of this, gaining experience points has become harder. Leon accepts the situation with a calm thought, and then receives his guild card with rank E. The receptionist also hands him a companion beast tag, explaining that with it, he can walk through the city with the slime without problems. She also warns him not to lose the guild card, as he'll have to pay for a new one if he does. The receptionist becomes curious about how to attach the tag to a slime, and suggests that maybe it can be placed inside its body. Leon asks if the slime can do that, but she responds that it prefers to stay on top of his head. He accepts it and tries to place it there. The receptionist watches the scene and can't help but find everything very cute. Soon after, Leon appears in front of the guild's bulletin board, observing the available missions while other people stare at him curiously. While Leon is still watching the missions on the guild board, a girl approaches and catches his attention. Shortly after, two adventurers appear, smiling, and invite him to join a mission with them. Leon watches, curious, without giving an immediate answer. Leon recognizes who the two girls are. They were among the adventurers attacked by the bandits earlier. The one with long hair introduces herself as Sarah, and the other, her childhood friend, introduces herself as Yuri. The girls explain that they also passed the test and think it would be a good idea to form a group together. Leon considers that, although his slime is strong, it would be risky to continue alone. After thinking it over, he agrees to join them. While looking at the mission board, Yuri comments that she was worried about forming a group only with Sarah, as they are the only women at the location. She explains that, because they are rare, adventurers tend to be very sought after by other groups, but many of these approaches have ulterior motives. For this reason, they've always been cautious. Shortly after, Yuri shows a mission and asks what Leon thinks of it. Yuri suggests a rank F mission to exterminate kobolds coming out of the forest, thinking it would be a good start. Leon and Sarah agree with the choice, and the group decides to proceed with this mission as their first adventure together. The group reaches near the forest. looking for the kobolds, but doesn't find any in sight. Leon remembers that the receptionist had warned them that, with their current rank, they couldn't accept missions involving the forest. She had made it clear that it was dangerous and that they should avoid the area. While they discuss whether it's worth continuing without entering the forest, Leon whistles calmly. Soon after, Yuri notices something approaching. The loud sound of footsteps fills the place, and suddenly a horde of kobolds appears, charging toward them, surprising the entire group. The girls panic when they realize there are more than a dozen kobolds coming toward them. Leon, however, observes the situation calmly, saying that with this many, each could get a gold coin. Yuri, frightened, warns that it's not the time to think about rewards and that the group needs to get out of there as soon as possible. The kobolds approach quickly, frightening Sarah, who realizes they won't be able to escape in time. Yuri prepares for combat while Leon observes the two and thinks that maybe they're nervous because it's their first mission. Without hesitation, he charges forward with Asura by his side, ready to join the fight. Yuri rushes forward with her sword in hand, while the slime follows her, jumping by her side. Sarah teams up with her to keep the enemies at bay, leaving Leon under the protection of his friend. Leon watches in silence while the battle approaches as the kobolds advance fiercely. Yuri charges forward and cuts one of the kobolds with precision, while the slime hits another with strength. Sarah casts a spell that explodes in flames, pushing back more enemies. Even with the group's attacks, the kobolds continue advancing, surrounding them and forcing each to handle the situation their own way. Sarah tries to react quickly to the danger and offers to deal with the situation, while Yuri is surprised by an attack. In the midst of the confusion, Leon calmly walks to the front, surprising everyone with his calmness. Sarah watches in shock as he approaches the enemy with confidence. While Sarah and Yuri scream in worry, Leon remains calm in front of the kobold. He realizes he's unarmed and thinks he should have brought a sword, but quickly decides that empty hands are enough. Without hesitation, he grabs the creature with strength, leaving everyone surprised by the confidence and power he shows. Leon pulls the kobold with force and throws it to the ground with a brutal strike, destroying the ground around it on impact. The scene shocks everyone with the absurd strength he demonstrates, especially considering he's unarmed and facing the creature with his bare hands. The girls are in shock at Leon's strength. Even surrounded by kobolds, he remains calm and says he's still weaker compared to his past life. Right after, one of the monsters bites his arm, but he doesn't even seem to flinch. Leon is surrounded by the kobolds, but remains calm, saying they were just playing at biting. The girls are confused by the situation. Without showing fear, he prepares, saying it's his turn to act. Leon charges toward the kobolds with a quick and precise movement, knocking several down at once. The girls watch from a distance, surprised by his strength and confidence. The two girls freeze watching the scene, unable to believe what they are seeing. One even pinches herself to make sure she's not dreaming. Meanwhile, Leon whistles to the kobolds, and they approach him as if they were pets. Leon appears carrying a pile of defeated kobolds, saying they got quite a lot. The girls are still in shock, while he asks if they also want to fight. Then, with a smile, he says he'll divide the reward as they agreed, even though he did everything alone. Leon notices something moving among the trees, and soon identifies it as a kobold left behind by the previous group. But unlike the others, this one appears in giant size and with a threatening presence, roaring loudly in front of the group. The two girls look up, scared, upon seeing a large creature approaching. The scene shifts to an imposing figure, a massive beast with a wolf-like appearance, glaring angrily. A young man watches in surprise as he realizes that the creature can speak, while thinking about the intelligence of these beasts. The beast reveals itself as the Forest Lord, and questions who is responsible for killing its companions. As the Forest Lord stares at the adventurers, it is explained that he is a king kobold, the highest rank among his species. Creatures like these are powerful enough to destroy entire villages on their own, and only high-level adventurers of rank A or B could face them. The two girls fall to their knees, desperate, thinking they will die on their first mission. The two girls, crying, begin to say their goodbyes and mentally apologize to their parents, regretting being so reckless. One of them laments that she only wanted to become a great adventurer. Meanwhile, the blonde boy watches the monster and comments innocently, thinking it's just a bigger-than-normal kobold. The two girls, outraged, scream that this is clearly a king kobold. The king kobold prepares to attack, saying it will avenge its companions. He raises his fist with strength, breaking the ground around him. The two girls, panicking, try to defend themselves, saying they weren't responsible. Still, the monster charges forward furiously, ready to crush them with a fatal blow. Just as the King Kobold's punch is about to hit the girls, the blonde boy appears and stops the attack with his hand, completely blocking the giant blow. He turns calmly to the two girls, asking if they're okay, while they stare at him in shock, unable to believe what they just saw. The blonde boy, with a calm expression, says that they don't need to be so afraid. The girls, desperate, try to explain that they're facing a King Kobold, an absurdly strong enemy. Meanwhile, the creature begins to retreat, visibly shaken and shocked by the boy's strength. Not understanding how anyone can stay calm in this situation, the monster shows nervousness for the first time. The blonde boy delivers a powerful strike with the palm of his hand, throwing the King Kobold away and creating a crater in the ground. The two girls watch the scene, nervously laughing and wondering if this is really real. The monster, injured and trembling, drags itself away without understanding where the boy got so much strength from, until it falls, unconscious. The boy simply turns away, complaining about a slight discomfort in his hand. The boy calmly comments that he defeated several enemies. The two girls, still trying to understand everything, recognize that he's right, but realize they won't be able to carry so many bodies on their own. He, smiling, says that there's nothing to worry about and points to something behind them. Several kobolds appear, staggering, still alive, leaving the girls surprised once again. The girls are startled to see the kobolds standing again, realizing they're still alive. Not understanding anything, one of them holds the other, saying she doesn't even want to know what's going on. The boy, completely calm, starts taking off his cloak, while the kobolds approach slowly, showing no hostility. While the girls continue not understanding what's going on, the boy touches the kobolds and makes them disappear in smoke. He assures them that he will divide the mission reward between the three of them and promises not to keep anything extra. The girls scream in shock at his behavior, finding all this calmness surreal. The scene cuts to the return to the guild building, where an employee greets the group with a smile, asking how their first mission went. Back at the guild, the employee notices something seems wrong and asks if there was any problem. The blonde boy answers casually, thinking everything went well. Behind him, the two girls appear exhausted and with dull eyes, leaving the employee even more confused. One of them admits that she doesn't even know how to explain what happened. The boy then comments that they defeated several kobolds, and when the employee asks to see, he starts pulling something out of the bag. The boy starts pulling the bodies of the kobolds from the magic bag, throwing one after another on the guild floor. The employee panics, asking him to stop and wondering where all these bodies are coming from. Shocked by the amount and the impact, she looks visibly shaken and tells him to take care of the situation. The boy continues pulling kobold bodies from his bag, creating an absurd pile at the guild counter. The employee panics, begging him to stop immediately. When asked about the quantity, he responds calmly that he didn't count them, but thinks there are about 50. Everyone around is shocked by the number. The employee, furious, states that it's obvious they went into the forest, even though they were warned not to. She points out that even an elder kobold is among the bodies. The boy, with an innocent expression, insists that they didn't go into the forest and that he is telling the truth. She refuses to believe him, as kobolds rarely leave the forest on their own. The two girls in the background only watch, completely exhausted by the situation. Tired of the confusion, the employee decides to leave the explanations for later and takes the group to the back of the guild. As they walk, she asks where the boy got so many kobolds. He answers naturally that they came from his item box, thinking it's a common thing. The employee is surprised, asking if he really owns such a valuable item, while he seems not to understand the reason for her shock. The boy completely empties the item box, revealing an absurd number of kobolds stacked up to the ceiling. The employee freezes, unable to believe what she sees. She asks how he managed to defeat so many, also commenting that it's strange that all of this fits in an item box. He answers simply, saying that he couldn't get a larger one due to the low quality of the bag he used. The employee reflects on the item box, explaining that these are extremely rare magical items made by a few wizards and almost never appear on the market. The simplest ones cost the same as a cart, while the more expensive ones are even more absurd. Confused by the boy's natural way of talking about it, she tries to convince herself that she must have misunderstood what he said. The employee comes across the body of the king kobold among the defeated ones and is shocked to realize that it really is one. She wonders if the boy was really able to defeat such a powerful creature, normally only faced by veteran adventurers. The girls in the background tremble nervously and nod their heads in confirmation. Meanwhile, she reflects on the slime accompanying the boy, realizing that it's more impressive than it seems. The employee is in shock as she understands that Leon defeated nearly all of those beasts by himself. The girls in the background confirm with dread, reliving the trauma. In front of the absurd number of bodies, she says she will need time to assess everything and asks him to come back the next day. Leon, with a carefree smile, comments that maybe he overdid it a bit and asks how much she thinks all of that is worth. The next day, the employee hands over a large sack of gold as payment for the materials delivered. She informs him that 56 kobolds were defeated, including a king kobold and 4 elders, and that since all the bodies were in great condition, the value was high. Leon is surprised by the weight of the reward, asking if it's correct. The employee explains that even high-level adventurers wouldn't be able to defeat so many enemies so cleanly. After completing the mission, Leon is promoted to rank D for his impressive performance, breaking the guild's record for the fastest promotion. Sarah and Yuri are also promoted, but only to rank E. However, both feel guilty for not doing anything and say they don't deserve it. Still, they receive congratulations while trying to refuse the recognition. Leon hands over the bags with each of their share of the reward, reminding them that they had agreed to divide it equally from the start. Reluctantly, the girls accept when they see that he insists. In the end, they decide to deposit the money in the guild for safekeeping, with a slight smile on their faces. With the money in hand, Leon decides it's time to buy equipment. Even though he knows he could fight without anything, he prefers to prepare better in case he faces a stronger enemy in the future. Deep in thought, he heads down the city stairs with his slime by his side, determined to get equipped. Leon walks through the busy streets of the city with his slime, observing the local commerce. He notices how the place is more prosperous than it was 100 years ago, with many more people circulating and a wider variety of products for sale. Curious and attentive, he observes the shops around. Ready to find the ideal equipment? Leon tries on a new pair of gloves, finding the material durable and elastic. Satisfied with the choice, he decides that's enough for now. He pays for the equipment and thanks the vendor while the slime follows him, observing everything with curiosity. After buying the clothes, Leon applies several enchantments to them: impact resistance, magic resistance, heat and cold resistance, as well as self-cleaning and self-repair functions. With everything ready, he decides to head to a weapon shop next. The owner of the previous shop watches in surprise as the boy's clothes glow with magical effects. Leon visits a weapon shop but soon realizes that all the swords are common and of low quality. He concludes that it would be better to fight with his bare hands than use something like that. Still, he tries to negotiate with the blacksmith, saying he would pay whatever it takes for a decent weapon. The slime encourages him, saying that a real blacksmith should make the type of sword the customer needs. Inside the forge, a determined female blacksmith says that she only makes swords that she truly wants to forge. An aggressive customer, angry that she refuses his order, begins shouting and tries to force her to accept, resorting to violence. She, without hesitation, faces him firmly as he advances with his fist raised, threatening to attack her. When the man tries to attack her, the blacksmith reacts quickly and precisely, knocking him down with a single blow. She calmly picks up her sword and stares coldly, making it clear that she has no patience for ill-intentioned complaints. The aggressor retreats, frightened, realizing he messed with the wrong person. The man runs away in panic, apologizing as he sprints out of the shop. The blacksmith watches her reaction with disdain and turns her attention back to Leon, who is analyzing a sword forged by her. He notices that the blade is much sharper than the other weapons in the shop, clearly made with superior skill. Leon observes the blacksmith with the sword and, based on what he's heard, realizes that she forged it herself. Impressed by the weapon, he approaches and politely calls her, ready to start a conversation. The slime quietly accompanies him as the blacksmith stares at him, curious about what he will say. Leon looks directly at the blacksmith and asks her to make a sword for him. The woman, surprised by the direct request, responds with an "huh," not immediately understanding who the boy is or why he is so confident. The slime watches everything from Leon's head, as always. The blacksmith stares at Leon with a serious and surprised expression, finding it strange that such a direct request is coming from someone so young. Irritated, she says that she's in a bad mood and tells him to leave, turning her back without giving him a chance to explain. Leon just watches in silence, while the slime continues on his head, observing everything quietly. Even being told to leave, Leon enters the workshop and observes everything calmly. The blacksmith yells, saying she won't make a sword for a kid like him, but Leon, unbothered, responds that he was listening. Before leaving, he asks, what kind of person would she accept to forge a sword for? This takes her by surprise, changing the tone of the conversation. Zeta realizes that Leon is no ordinary boy, as he reacted with calmness to her murderous intent. Intrigued, she introduces herself as a blacksmith. Leon then says his name and reveals that he is a rank D adventurer, which surprises Zeta even more, as he is too young to have already reached that level. She comments that now everything starts to make more sense. Zeta finally answers Leon's question, saying that she only makes swords for those who have enough skill to wield them. That's her only rule. Leon understands and accepts this with naturalness, but then follows up with another question: if she has ever forged a sword with materials superior to mithril. The question takes Zeta by surprise. Upon hearing Leon mention adamantite, Zeta is shocked, saying that it's a legendary material used only in extraordinary weapons, and even royal blacksmiths don't have access to it. Leon calmly responds that, in his past life, that material wasn't so rare, and he even had several weapons made of adamantite. He comments that, if necessary, he'll mine the material himself. Zeta tries to explain that adamantite is rare precisely because it's not easy to find. Leon responds simply, saying that it shouldn't be too difficult if it's in the deeper levels of the dungeons. Irritated, she asks if he's foolish, reminding him that only elite adventurers can reach such depths. But Leon remains with his usual calm, making Zeta sigh, realizing she won't convince him otherwise. Zeta changes her mind with a confident smile, saying that it's about time to collect more materials. She decides to accompany Leon on his next mission, saying that she wants to see with her own eyes if he's truly worthy of wielding one of her swords. Leon watches in silence, while the slime remains by his side. The group heads toward the Hadaka dungeon of the north, a place full of dangerous underground levels. As they descend, the monsters get stronger and the traps more deadly. To this day, the deepest point reached was the 20th floor. This is the known limit, and few have managed to get that far. Even on the 20th floor, the chances of finding adamantite are still very low. Leon explains that to ensure they find the material, they will need to descend at least to the 30th floor. Zeta is surprised by the bold goal, while Leon calmly says that this is the goal for now. Zeta sighs, saying that reaching the 30th floor is impossible, but Leon responds that just reaching the 10th floor would be enough, as there's a good chance of finding mithril. He observes that Zeta, in addition to being a blacksmith, is also skilled with swords. Since she was a child, she trained to be capable of wielding one, believing that this was necessary to create superior swords. Because of this, she ended up acquiring the rare profession of battlesmith. Zeta has already managed to reach the 12th floor of a dungeon alone, something even experienced adventurers prefer to face in a group. For this reason, among the adventurers in the city, she is considered to have a very high level. Her way of speaking, acting, and even her appearance, which has a more masculine style, make her even have female fans. Zeta begins to panic as the creatures appear. First a black minotaur with enough strength to destroy a city, then a chief troll even more dangerous, and finally a giant two-headed worm. She screams in fright, while the boy beside her simply observes everything calmly, not understanding why she's so scared. Zeta begins trembling with nervousness, not understanding why they ended up on the 30th floor. Meanwhile, the boy faces the monsters with ease, cutting and knocking them all down. He looks at her with naturalness and says that he thought he already told her that the goal was to reach the 30th floor for now. He answers calmly that the deeper they go, the higher the chances of finding adamantite. Zeta panics when she realizes the plan is to keep going deeper. She's shocked, thinking that she just wants to go back home, while he's already walking as if it's normal. Zeta comments that if he's already this strong, he doesn't even need a sword made by her. She even says that the common sword he bought would be enough to defeat a dragon, but he shows her the blade, which is all damaged, explaining that common swords wear out very quickly. She's surprised to see a steel sword in that condition. The boy's sword ends up breaking, and Zeta is surprised, asking what he will do without a backup. He responds calmly that he doesn't need another one. Then, he defeats the enemy with a simple punch, leaving Zeta completely shocked, saying that he didn't even need a sword. The group continues advancing through the dungeon, and the boy comments that they've walked quite a bit. Zeta appears completely exhausted, breathing heavily. He asks if she's okay, and she responds that she is, even though she's clearly tired. He comments that it must be near lunchtime. The boy suggests having a light meal right there, in the middle of the dungeon floor. Zeta is surprised by the idea, but is soon astonished when she sees him pulling out a complete meal from a bag. Not understanding anything, she asks where he got all of that, thinking he was using an item box. The boy starts by lighting a campfire with some branches he gathered himself. He then puts water to boil in 2 pots at the same time, one to cook the pasta, the other to cook the meat and vegetables he cut. The boy tastes the food and seems satisfied with the result. The woman is surprised, asking if he's also a master chef. He calmly offers her some once everything is ready, leaving her speechless. The woman tries to hide her interest in the food, saying that she wouldn't accept it in a place like that. He just responds with an, "Oh, really?" while continuing to eat calmly. The dish looks very appetizing, and he comments that it's delicious, leaving the woman watching in silence. The woman stands still, visibly embarrassed and hungry. He looks at her curiously and asks what happened. After a moment of silence, she shyly responds, asking for a little of the food. She takes a bite and immediately is surprised by the taste. With wide eyes, she praises the food, saying that it's incredible. While continuing to eat happily, she comments that she never imagined tasting something so delicious inside a dungeon. The group reaches the 33rd floor and comes across a scene full of frightening monsters. The girl suggests making a detour, worried about the situation, but Leon calmly responds that it's the shortest path. Even with a bad feeling, he insists on moving forward, while she realizes that he had planned to go through everything from the start. Leon and the girl come across a massive group of monsters. He comments that fighting with empty hands against so many might be too much, while she freaks out, saying that he's crazy to think of facing all of this. Even holding him back, Leon seems calm, and even makes a comment saying that she's sweating, leaving her furious with his lack of tact. The monsters notice their presence and begin advancing. The girl panics and asks if Leon can handle the situation. He answers calmly, saying that he can use magic since it's a large group. She is shocked to find out that he also knows magic. Leon activates a powerful magic called Hellfire, creating a huge whirlwind of flames around him. The girl watches in surprise, unable to believe what she's seeing, while everything around is swallowed by the fire. After casting the powerful fire magic, Leon uses another spell called Flood Myth to extinguish the flames. A massive flow of water emerges, covering everything around. He and the girl watch the now flooded area, while the water still flows down the cave walls. Leon looks at the girl calmly, asking why she's standing still. With a slight smile, he suggests that they keep walking. The girl remains speechless, still impacted. In the distance, a strange noise begins echoing through the tunnel. At the deepest floor of the dungeon, a massive dragon starts moving. Its body, covered in heavy scales, stirs slowly as its eyes open. It awakens with a threatening aura, murmuring in a low and dark voice, asking who dared interrupt its sleep. The dragon continues awakening and senses something strange in the air. It recognizes an irritating mana that bothers it deeply. In its mind, the doubt arises. Could that man have returned? Meanwhile, a mysterious figure appears standing in the battlefield, surrounded by an intense aura, making the ground tremble. The dragon glares with anger and resentment, remembering the past. It says that it will never forget the humiliation it suffered while watching the blonde-haired boy in front of it, who smiles calmly, still unaware of what it's about to face. The group reaches the 40th floor of the dungeon. The boy leans against the wall and realizes there's something strange there. Without thinking too much, he punches the suspicious spot with force, surprising the girl beside him with his sudden action. The boy easily finds adamantite, surprising the girl. He says they should keep mining since they're there, leaving her speechless. She thought they could finally go back, but he seems more excited to explore the rest of the floor. The boy appears holding a large amount of adamantite, saying it would be enough to forge 100 swords. The girl responds, exhausted, saying that she thinks so. When he says it's time to leave, she's so worn out that she can barely react, and asks for some time to breathe. Leon is sitting, looking at his information, and comments that he leveled up a lot. He shows that his skills are all at rank SS and several of his classes reached level 20. The slime Sura also made a huge advancement, reaching level 64 with very high attributes. Leon comments that even Sura got super strong. Leon says that if Sura keeps working hard, one day it may get strong enough to defeat even a demon king. The slime strikes a pose showing muscles, and Leon is impressed that Sura can already do that. Meanwhile, he explains that they're in the safe zone of the 40th floor of the dungeon, a place where almost no monster enters. While resting, Leon comments that Sura seems calm in the place. He also says that monsters probably avoid that area unless they were born in the dungeon itself. Soon after, he asks if Zeta has rested enough, and she stands up confirming with a yes. Zeta begins running in panic after hearing a loud roar coming from the depths of the dungeon. Leon watches the situation calmly and realizes what's happening. He concludes that all the monsters in the dungeon are moving toward them. Zeta panics when she learns that about 500 monsters are coming their way. Leon watches calmly and comments that even though they're in a safe zone, there might be abnormal monsters that don't care about that. She tries to confirm that they're protected there, but he just responds with a maybe, leaving her even more desperate. Zeta sees the horde of monsters approaching and completely freaks out, laughing exaggeratedly and saying that 500 enemies are nothing. She screams that she could defeat 10,000 alone, while Leon watches the scene and thinks that she clearly lost control. Leon instructs Sura to protect Zeta, who is sleeping peacefully, unaware of the situation around her. Meanwhile, he prepares a spell to reduce the number of monsters, using his magic to deal with the imminent threat. In the Adventurers Guild of Badaka, the atmosphere is tense. The Guildmaster Bors strikes the table forcefully, furious to discover that the region's dungeon has been conquered. Dungeons are the main source of income for guilds, attracting adventurers and moving money. Not long ago, that specific dungeon had been taken over by someone, causing a huge loss for the guild. Bors, irritated, demands to know who was responsible for this act. Guildmaster Bors continues to reflect on the situation. If one of the guild's own adventurers had conquered the dungeon, at least that would bring recognition and prestige to everyone. However, so far no one like that has been identified. A generous reward had been promised to the conqueror, which only increases the tension. Bors fears that the culprit might be an independent explorer, which would be a disgrace for the guild that has been trying to conquer that location for years. Amidst his frustration, a subordinate enters the room with a report in hand, saying that the investigation has been concluded. Bors immediately asks what the information is. The subordinate reports that there are still no solid leads on who conquered the dungeon. However, he mentions a rumor circulating among the adventurers, and though uncertain, it could be a clue. Guildmaster Bors presses him to reveal any detail, no matter how small. The man, hesitating, reveals that rumors point to a boy as the possible responsible for the conquest. Bors, surprised, asks, "A boy?" The subordinate confirms that the rumor speaks of a boy only 12 years old, who became an adventurer recently. Bors reacts skeptically, finding the idea of a child conquering a dungeon absurd. The other man agrees that it seems unlikely, which is why the matter is still treated only as a rumor. However, he adds that during the admission exam, the boy defeated a rank C adventurer who was acting as an examiner. Additionally, during his first mission, he is said to have killed a king kobold. This information makes Bors begin to take the possibility more seriously. The subordinate continues reporting that, while investigating around the dungeon, he heard from vendors that a boy matching the description had purchased a sword nearby. Though the details are vague, the coincidence is striking. At first, Bors thinks it all sounds like a joke, but after hearing about the sword purchase, he bangs his fist on the table and, filled with urgency, orders that they bring the boy immediately. His tone is firm and authoritative, leaving no room for doubt. While the subordinate rushes off to carry out the order, the boy mentioned in the rumors appears, walking leisurely down a trail. He is relaxed, with his arms behind his head, and a round creature floating above him. Unhurried and unaware of the commotion he has caused, the boy thinks about visiting other cities now that he has traveled a good distance. He shows curiosity and excitement, unaware that someone is about to seek him urgently. The boy decides to head to the city of Melissa, located to the west of Badaka. On the way, he easily defeats some smaller monsters, showing that he handles such situations effortlessly. During his walk, something catches his attention. He notices a nearby cave and feels that something is inside. Intrigued, he wonders if it could be a person hiding there. Cautiously, he observes the dark entrance. The boy approaches the cave and feels that the presence inside doesn't seem to be that of a monster. It's something very weak. The floating creature accompanying him watches as he decides to investigate further. He crouches down and begins entering the narrow tunnel, determined to discover what is hidden there. Before proceeding, he smiles and asks his companion to wait and be careful. The creature reacts by hopping, watching as the boy moves deeper into the darkness. The boy crawls through the tunnel and encounters something unexpected. Another slime. Surprised, he stops, but the slime quickly says that it isn't dangerous. Curious, the boy asks if there's anyone else there, trying to understand the situation. As he moves cautiously, he finally sees someone ahead, partially hidden in the darkness. The presence has been watching everything in silence, and is now face to face with the boy. Inside the cave, the boy finds two children of the Beastman race. One of them, clearly injured and exhausted, lies on the ground, while the other stands in front, bravely protecting her. Despite being in a fragile state, the boy tries to calm the situation, explaining that the slime with him, named Sura, is his companion and poses no danger. He says that he just wants to help the injured girl. However, the Beast Boy reacts with distrust and fear, refusing to let him get closer, baring his teeth and shouting for him to stay away. Faced with the Beast Boy's refusal to allow him to approach, the boy decides to act. With no other option, he orders Sura to immobilize him. The slime quickly envelops the boy with its tentacles, preventing him from moving. Despite struggling and shouting, the boy cannot break free, allowing the protagonist to approach the injured girl. The boy approaches the unconscious girl and touches her forehead, assessing her condition. With a serious expression, he determines that she is already dead. The Beast Boy, still immobilized by Sura, screams in despair upon hearing this, unable to believe or accept the loss. The boy realizes that the girl died recently and that there is still a chance to save her. Calmly, he asks the boy to relax and focuses. He places his hand on the girl's head and, with a beam of light, casts a resurrection spell. In seconds, the girl wakes up, breathing again before the astonished eyes of the Beast Boy. The boy's magic envelops the girl's body with a soft light. Gradually, she begins to respond. Her chest starts moving again, her eyes slowly open, and she wakes up, confused, not understanding what happened. The boy shows the girl that, in addition to bringing her back to life, all her wounds have been healed. Still scared, she watches silently, not knowing how to react. The slime approaches, and she appears confused by everything, trying to understand what just happened. The boy realizes that, although healed, the two are still weak. He decides that the best thing is to let them rest. With a gentle touch, he makes the boy fall asleep instantly. He then arranges the two of them side by side under a blanket, allowing them to recover their strength in peace. While the two rest, the boy decides to assess them with his ability. He discovers that both are 5 years old, belong to the feline therianthrope race, and are at level 2 of their species. He realizes that they must be siblings. Their stats are low, typical of children, weak strength and magic, but with some dexterity and agility, especially in the case of the girl. The boy observes the sleeping siblings and reflects on the situation. Despite their young age, their physical abilities are impressive for children, which is common among therianthropes. Still, living alone in that forest must have been extremely difficult. While thinking about why they were there, the girl begins to wake up slowly. As she opens her eyes and sees the boy, she reacts in surprise, confused by his presence. Fully awake, the beast girl reacts defensively, growling and advancing on the boy. He tries to calm her down, explaining that he was the one who saved her. But she ignores him and runs to her brother, trying to wake him with slaps. Even after the slime reinforces that he was the one responsible for saving them, the girl remains distrustful, angry, and in an attacking position, not accepting the presence of the two as something safe. The boy realizes that words aren't working with the children, so he gets an idea. He remembers a famous clown from the past who could make even the grumpiest people smile, especially children who adored him. Inspired, he decides to use humor to gain the trust of the two siblings. With a confident smile, he prepares to do something funny, drawing their attention to his deadly technique. Trying to break the tense mood, the boy makes a silly face, hoping to get laughs from the two siblings. However, the reaction is not what he expected. Both just stare at him in silence, completely expressionless. Confused, he wonders why the attempt failed, surprised by their complete disinterest. Not giving up, the boy starts dancing in a funny way, shaking his body in a weird manner. At first, the siblings try to remain serious, but their faces begin to tremble, trying to hold back laughter. He realizes he's almost there and intensifies the dance. Soon, one of them lets out a laugh, and the other follows. The effort finally pays off. The boy's funny dance finally wins the siblings over, who burst out laughing loudly and genuinely. He watches satisfied, relieved to have broken the ice. Shortly afterward, he prepares a meal for them. Sitting side by side, the siblings eat with enthusiasm, smiling and happy, showing that they finally feel safe with the boy and his slime companion. Even while eating enthusiastically, the siblings still show a bit of distrust, but the boy reassures them with a smile, telling them that the food isn't poisoned. With that, they relax and continue eating happily. Satisfied with the taste, the two quickly ask for more. With faces full of joy and gratitude, they accept the second serving, showing that they've finally started to trust him. After the meal, the boy introduces himself as Leon, an adventurer. With the atmosphere calmer, he takes the opportunity to ask why two such small children were alone in that forest. The siblings, who appear to be twins, exchange hesitant looks and hold hands, unsure how to respond. The atmosphere grows more serious, signaling that there is a difficult story behind their situation. The siblings reveal their harsh reality. As long as they can remember, they've lived as slaves, not even knowing who their parents are. Being therianthropes, their physical abilities attracted attention, and they were exploited for hard labor. During a transport through the forest, the cart they were in was attacked by a monster. The other slaves were killed, but they managed to escape amid the chaos. Since then, they had been surviving alone, just the two of them, side by side. Leon listens to the siblings' story in silence, clearly moved by the pain they carry. He notices the scars on their bodies, clear signs of brutal mistreatment at the hands of their captors. With a firm look, he decides that it's time to get them out of there. He asks if they've regained their strength and, seeing them standing, invites them to come with him to a better place, away from that suffering. Leon smiles at the siblings and reassures them, saying that they don't need to worry. Confidently, he asserts that he and Asura can easily handle any monster in the forest. His assurance brings calm to the children, who now see him as a true protector. As they walk, a monster appears, roaring in front of the group, frightening the siblings. Leon, however, remains calm. He holds the children to protect them and asks them to just watch. He confidently assures them once again that there is nothing to worry about, ready to show that he means what he says. Asura charges and defeats the monster with a single blow, leaving the siblings impressed by its strength. Leon just watches with a smile, confirming that there was no need for concern. Then, realizing that walking would take too long, he lifts both siblings in his arms and begins running at high speed, confidently and determinedly moving through the forest, while the two look surprised by the adventurer's speed and strength. While running through the forest carrying the siblings, Leon is attacked by a wild boar. Without stopping, he casts a spell with precision, a fire arrow, that hits the monster squarely, knocking it down in flames. The siblings, still in his arms, watch the scene, amazed, and let out a simple, "Wow," impressed by the strength and skill of their savior. Leon and the siblings finally exit the forest and encounter two exhausted men. One of them, upon recognizing the children, reacts in shock to realize they are alive. Confused, he doesn't understand how they managed to survive, revealing that he knew them and didn't expect to see them again. The children, seeing him, show tension and fear. The man reveals that he is the siblings' former master, a slave trader. Furious, he starts yelling at the children, complaining about the trouble they caused by escaping. In anger, he draws a whip and orders them to come closer to be punished. Leon watches everything in silence, but his serious expression and the sound of the wood in his hand breaking show that he will not allow this to continue. Leon steps between the children and the slave trader, making it clear his disdain for the man. With a serious look, he holds the siblings and asks directly, "What do you plan to do with them?" The slave trader, irritated and surprised, demands that Leon hand them over, claiming that they are his property. But Leon doesn't move, protecting the children firmly, showing no intention of backing down. The slave trader insists that he has the right to punish the children because he is their owner, saying that he can treat them as he likes. Leon, staying calm, firmly questions, if he is truly the master, where is the proof? With the siblings frightened behind him, Leon continues to stare at the man, making it clear that he will not accept empty words as justification for abuse. The slave trader confidently asserts that he does indeed have proof, the slavery contract, marked on the children's arms. But when they look, the siblings notice something unexpected. The marks have disappeared. Surprised, they are confused, not understanding what happened, while Leon watches in silence, already knowing that the bond of slavery has been undone. Leon calmly shows the children's arms to the slave trader, proving that the slavery marks have vanished. The man panics, unable to believe what he's seeing. Leon, with a cold look, asks, what right does he have to punish them if he can't even prove that they are his slaves? Even insisting that they are his property, the slave trader cannot present any proof. Faced with this, Leon completely dismantles his authority. Leon calmly reveals that he used a secret ability called Plunder, linked to the Thief King class, to steal the slavery bond from the children. He says that now they are with him. Though it is an illegal technique, Leon admits that he only used it because of the situation. The slave trader becomes furious, calls Leon a thief, and tries to react but is visibly at a disadvantage. The slave trader attempts to attack with the whip, but Leon freezes him instantly, stopping the strike. With a cold look, Leon points out that the man was the first to attack, and therefore, he will be held accountable for it. The slave trader panics, unable to believe what is happening. Leon knocks out the slave trader with a single blow, and, without caring about what happened, asks if the children are ready to continue their journey. The two agree, and together they head toward the nearby city, now free and safe. As they approach the city, a guard questions if the children are traveling alone. Leon identifies himself as an adventurer and shows his D-rank certificate, surprising the soldiers. Despite the initial confusion, they are allowed to enter. However, Leon realizes that this is not the city of Melissa, but rather Liberto. When he asks about the city of Melissa, Leon discovers that it was renamed Liberto in honor of the hero Leon Liberto, who saved the area from an attack by the Demon King's army 100 years ago. Surprised, Leon realizes that the city now bears his own name, never having imagined this would happen. Leon observes how much the city has grown over the last 100 years, now full of people and bustling. Faced with this new reality, he turns to the siblings and asks what they intend to do now. The children are confused to hear that they are now free, not understanding what they will do next. Leon explains that they are no longer slaves and can decide for themselves. Seeing the hesitation in their eyes, he thinks about temporarily leaving them at an orphanage, understanding that all of this must be hard for them to process. With tears in their eyes, the two children ask if they can stay with Leon. The unexpected question completely surprises him, leaving him speechless for a moment. The two children beg to stay with Leon, saying they would do anything. He hesitates, thinking about the difficulty of traveling with them. But when he wishes he could make them like his slime companion, something unexpected happens. The two are officially transformed into beast companions, like Sura. Leon is confused as he realizes that the children have actually become beast companions, something that, theoretically, should only happen with monsters. He is surprised to consider that therianthropes might also be affected, something that goes against everything he knew. However, he starts to suspect that a special condition must have been met for this to happen. Leon checks the children's status and confirms that they have indeed become his beast companions. Additionally, all their attributes have dramatically increased, with agility reaching S rank. Seeing this, Leon concludes that now he can take them with him on his adventures without any issues. Leon agrees to the children's request, accepting that they can stay with him. The twins are overjoyed and immediately hug him with happiness. He realizes that they have truly grown attached to him. Leon decides to give the children a bath to clean them. He carefully washes their hair while they relax in the bathtub. Afterward, he dries them off and dresses them in clean clothes, making them comfortable and well cared for. After bathing and changing into fresh clothes, the children appear clean and well-groomed, surprising Leon. He notices that they don't have names, which he considers a problem, and begins to think about how to resolve this. Leon names the two siblings. The girl will be called Iris, and the boy Aruk. They repeat their names excitedly, smiling at each other, happy with their new identities. Leon realizes it's time for dinner. Iris and Aruk watch attentively as he sets a large table with well-served plates. The eyes of both children shine with excitement as they see the food. The children hesitate before the food, unsure if they are really allowed to touch it. With eyes full of doubt, they ask if they have permission to eat. Leon smiles kindly and confirms that they can, making it clear that they are free now. Aruk and Iris eat eagerly and joyfully, clearly famished. Leon watches from afar, satisfied to see them enjoying the meal. After emptying their plates completely, they let out a burp and fall asleep, exhausted but happy. During the night, Leon observes Aruk and Iris sleeping peacefully and thinks that he should train them before taking them on adventures. He considers starting the next day. He then goes out to reflect while seeing the city of Liberto at night. He notices several statues in his honor, and despite knowing his past as a hero, he feels strange being worshipped as a legendary figure. A girl named Hetty is called by a man who seems to be her companion. She turns with confidence after a brief exchange of glances between the group and responds that they can leave now. The scene conveys a sense of decision and readiness, suggesting that they are about to start something important. Leon takes Aruk and Iris into the forest to train them. Without warning, he presents a large monster bound and tells the two to face it. The girls panic, while the monster also seems confused by the unexpected situation. Leon reassures Aruk and Iris, saying that orcs aren't that strong and that they are good enough to defeat one. He releases the monster, a high orc, and explains that all they need to do is land a full-strength kick. The creature charges furiously into the fight. Aruk and Iris kick the orc with such force that it flies far away, both surprised by their own power. Leon praises their performance and immediately presents the next challenge, a huge dragon, catching the girls by surprise once again. Leon, with a carefree smile, tells Aruk and Iris to face a massive dragon as part of the training. The two stare at the creature in shock as it moves heavily toward them. Watching from a distance, Leon calmly comments on the toughness of the training. 3 days after the training began, Leon notices that Aruk and Iris are already getting used to combat. Determined to take the next step, he takes them to the Adventurers Guild branch in Liberto. Upon arriving, he is surprised by the grandeur of the place. At the guild, the receptionist is surprised to see Leon accompanied by 2 children and assumes he came to register for a mission. However, Leon reveals that he is an adventurer and shows his D rank card, further surprising the employee. He then informs that the 2 girls also want to become adventurers and asks when the next exam will be. The guild employee explains that it would be difficult to register the girls as adventurers because they are too young. The minimum age requirement requires candidates to communicate well with clients. However, if they are in a group with someone more experienced, exceptions might be made. Leon understands the situation but concludes that, for now, it's better to delay registering them. Leon decides to take a mission while he can't register the girls at the guild yet. He looks at the task board and chooses a mission that seems suitable, determined to continue with the work for now. Leon picks a rank C mission involving an investigation in the Regina area, where forest beasts have been approaching the village. He calculates that he can get there in half an hour if he runs. However, before leaving, he is approached by an older adventurer who mocks him, questioning what a child like him is doing there. Leon responds to the arrogant adventurer that he is there because he is an adventurer. The man then points to the girls and asks about them. Leon directly says that they are not adventurers, which visibly irritates both and makes them ready to retaliate. The arrogant adventurer tries to take the mission request from Leon's hands, saying that he saw the mission first, and mocking him for walking with 2 children. But before he can do more, Sura slaps him hard across the face, causing him to stumble in pain. Sura asks if he should kill the man, but Leon refuses with a smile, saying it's not necessary. The adventurer, still stunned, is in shock upon realizing it was the slime that hit him, not believing in the creature's power. Leon simply apologizes, calmly explaining that his slime struck him. The adventurer draws his sword, saying that by rule, any beast that harms a human must be slain, and promises to kill the slime. Leon, calm, firmly disagrees, saying he doesn't agree with that. He explains that the mistake was the man's for approaching carelessly. The tension builds as murmurs fill the air. Guild staff tries to contain the confusion, asking Grizz to stop the disturbance. Irritated, he ignores them and shouts, boasting that he is a rank B adventurer and telling everyone to shut up. Suddenly, something strikes his arm, surprising him. Leon approaches and asks directly, "What are you doing?" leaving Grise even more confused. Henriette, a respected and imposing figure, enters the guild lobby. Her mere presence is enough to silence everyone. The adventurers and staff immediately recognize her. Without wasting any time, she glares at Grise and demands to be told what happened. The staff and Grise, intimidated, quickly comply. Henriette summarizes the situation clearly. Grise tried to steal the mission that the boy had already taken, and in the process, attacked his companion. Ashamed and with no way out, Grise confirms with a yes, and ends up admitting his guilt with a simple "sorry" before storming out, angry. Henriette checks if the protagonist is okay after the confrontation. He thanks her and, a little awkwardly, calls her Lady Henriette, thinking she was a celebrity. Smiling, she gently corrects him, saying that just Henriette is fine. Henriette says that, for now, she is just an adventurer. At this moment, a woman named Kanai appears, criticizing the comment as false modesty, since Henriette is a rank A adventurer. Henriette, embarrassed, asks Kanai to stop, making it clear she didn't mean to seem pretentious. Kanai looks at Leon intensely and, with a mischievous smile, comments that he is exactly her type. She begins to approach, making suggestive remarks. Henriette, uncomfortable with the situation, interrupts with a quick slap on Kanai's head before she advances any further. Henriette scolds Kanai for her provocative behavior, telling her not to corrupt Leon. Kanai tries to play it off, saying it was an accident, and that she would never force anyone. Probably. Henriette, serious, warns that she doesn't care about preferences, but that Kanai should at least avoid becoming a criminal. Kanai panics when Henriette threatens to decapitate her, clearly only joking. A blonde girl appears, staring at two other girls, and begins to excessively praise their appearance, saying they are the true highlight. Meanwhile, the two girls just watch, somewhat unreactive. The scene shifts to another group, where the blonde is seen approaching suddenly, making the others uncomfortable. One of the girls comments about yet another strange one showing up. Finally, the blonde shows excitement and even emotion, as if she had found something celestial, while one of the girls remains confused by the situation. The blonde girl tries to approach the two girls by offering toys and then candy, but ends up frightening them, causing them to react negatively and hide. Despite her persistence, she is interrupted by other women who are observing the scene and ask her to stop. In the end, one of them clearly states that she is scaring the children, while everyone looks at her with disapproval. The woman apologizes for her previous behavior, and the boy begins introducing his group. He shows that Kanai and Tina are part of his team, and then introduces the others. The two girls are named Aruk and Iris, the floating mascot is Sura, and finally he introduces himself as Leon. One of the women comments about the slime, saying it seems ordinary but admits that it is quite agile. She asks if the boy is a beast tamer, and he confirms. She then apologizes for the behavior of another man. A warrior appears in a flashback, and they explain that he failed the promotion exam, being rejected right at the registration stage, which could explain his bad mood. One of the women comments that it takes great immaturity to take out frustration on a boy because of one's own lack of ability. She then asks Leon which mission he intends to take. He shows her the request, and all of them look at the document. They notice that it is a difficult mission posted 3 weeks ago, and that probably no one had accepted it because it is complicated even just to reach a place called Regina. The women comment that the chosen mission is rank C, and they are surprised that he wants to take on such a difficult one. One of them asks about Leon's rank, and he reveals that he is D rank. This grabs their attention, as he is quite young for that level. Still, they warn him that the mission is only recommended for rank C or higher, suggesting it might be better to choose another one. Leon decides to stick with his choice, saying that if no one wants to accept it, the client is probably in trouble. One of the women is moved by his attitude, finding it admirable. Then, one of the girls claps her hands and, along with the other, offers to help with the mission, since he seems determined to go through with it. The women celebrate the decision, thinking it's a great opportunity to stay with the children, which annoys Tina since that was not her intention. Leon thinks for a moment, worried that with them around, he won't be able to escape if something goes wrong. Meanwhile, Arik and Iris clearly show that they also don't like the idea, grabbing Leon by the arms. Leon declines the help, saying he would feel bad depending on others. He mentions that despite being a D-rank adventurer, he is managing just fine. The women insist, saying that they aren't doing it for him but for themselves. One of them expresses concern, as he is traveling with two young children. Leon recalls that it has only been a few days since he met Aruk and Iris, and the woman concludes that, even in such a short time, he has likely faced many challenges. The women assure him that they don't want any part of the reward and say that Regina, the destination of the mission, is famous for its hot springs. Leon suspects their motives, not understanding why they are so excited to accompany him, but realizes that, even if he refused, they would probably go along anyway. In the end, one of the women comments that they have been too busy and that this mission is a good excuse to relax. One of the women begins to excitedly imagine the idea of going into the hot springs with the children and Leon, thinking that the trip is becoming perfect. She begins to show some suspicious intentions, talking about taking a bath with a handsome boy. Leon and Tina are uncomfortable with the atmosphere, while another woman, embarrassed by the situation, scolds the two for making their true intentions clear about wanting to join the mission. One of the women presents the cart, which normally accommodates 3 people, but says that carrying 3 more children won't be a problem. Leon notices the animal pulling the cart and asks if it is a unicorn. She confirms, saying its name is Cher and that it has several times more strength than a normal horse. One of the women comments that the journey to Regina will take about an hour with that cart. Tina and the other woman start fantasizing about being squished with Leon and the children during the ride, creating a strange atmosphere. But their expectation is broken when they are informed that, in fact, they will be sitting at the back of the cart, far from the scene they imagined. The group arrives in the village of Regina, which is exactly as described, small and peaceful, with a few houses, mills, and nature around. Leon observes the place with the girls. Soon after entering, an older man recognizes one of the women from the group and, surprised, respectfully calls her Lady Henriette. The man asks if the group is the one that accepted the mission and soon explains that the village is simple, known only for its hot springs, and doesn't have much to offer in terms of rewards. Henriette replies that they are just accompanying Leon during their vacation, and that he may be the only one to receive payment. The man looks relieved to hear this, showing a calm smile. Leon introduces himself as the adventurer who accepted the mission and asks for more details. The man explains that there is a nearby forest where monsters live, but recently they have been appearing more frequently near the village, which is unusual. Leon's mission is to find out the cause of this change in the monster's behavior. The village elder bows and asks them to do their best, recognizing that the mission could be difficult. Leon and the group believe that something strange must be happening in the forest. They then arrive at the location and prepare to investigate. One of the women comments that it will be difficult to find the cause of the problem in such a large forest. But Tina confidently responds that it isn't a problem. She reveals that she is a scout, a hunter-type class specialized in exploration and enemy detection. The scene shows her observing the surroundings with focus, ready to act. Tina mentions that her ability as a scout makes her good at tracking and observing children, which makes Aruk and Iris uncomfortable. She also says that she is good at finding monsters. Henriette notes that this type of task is usually her strength. In the end, she questions Leon, asking if it was really a good idea to bring the two girls on this mission. Leon responds confidently that the girls will be fine, even though they seem fragile. He says that despite their appearance, Aruk and Iris are not ordinary children. Someone suggests that it might have been better to leave them at the village, but Leon remains calm. In the end, one of the women comments that, thinking about it, he is also not an ordinary boy. The group has advanced quite a bit into the forest, but so far they haven't encountered any monsters, which starts to seem strange to everyone. Tina, using her tracking skills, confirms that she still doesn't sense any creatures nearby. Henriette observes that something truly odd is happening in this place. Leon realizes that even his special detection ability couldn't locate any monsters, although he knows the range is limited. Thinking of an alternative, he decides to use a whistle to try to attract a creature from the forest. He blows hard, sending sound waves over a large area. After Leon uses the whistle, everyone becomes alert. Tina says that she still doesn't sense anything, which feels strange. But Henriette, with a more focused look, says that a monster is coming from the southeast direction. The group is surprised by her precision, and they immediately prepare for what's coming. Tina confirms that the monster is indeed coming from the southeast, just as Henriette said. One of the women is surprised that Henriette detected it before the scout did, but is soon interrupted. The focus now needs to be on the enemy. The group goes on high alert as the sounds from the forest increase, and they soon realize that the approaching monster is quite large. The group finally spots the enemy, a giant tarantula, rated a danger level. The creature appears threatening between the trees, surprising everyone. One of the women immediately recognizes the monster and calls out, while the tension rises and everyone prepares for the confrontation. The giant tarantula advances toward the group, and one of the women quickly positions herself to protect everyone. She summons a spell with her staff, raising a huge earth wall between them and the creature. The barrier is formed in time, acting as a shield against the imminent attack. Henriette tells the children to stay back, assuring them that the adults will deal with the monster. She moves into the attack, advancing confidently and landing a direct blow on the giant tarantula. The scene shows her strength and determination as she faces the creature head-on. Leon warns that several other monsters are approaching, though they are smaller. Tina confirms that she now senses their presence. There are dozens. The others are surprised, realizing that Leon noticed them before even the scout. Meanwhile, Henriette struggles in the middle of the battle, but her sword is caught in webs and she can't move properly. The group finds themselves surrounded by several smaller tarantulas, rated B danger level. One of the women realizes they are at a numerical disadvantage. Still, they don't hesitate and charge into the fight. Tina and the other warrior move together, taking down several enemies as the battle spreads throughout the forest. Kanai is caught off guard by a tarantula coming up behind her, but Tina warns her just in time. Before the attack hits, Sura, the slime, appears and defeats the monster with a quick blow. Kanai thanks him, surprised to have been saved by the small creature, and Sura asks if she is okay, proud of what he did. Leon tells Eric and Iris to wait while he moves forward alone. The girls obey, but Henriette soon notices and shouts his name, concerned. Kanai is also startled to see him going directly toward a group of tarantulas. Leon calmly draws his sword and faces the creatures without hesitation, even with danger ahead. Leon charges through the monsters, quickly eliminating several tarantulas at once. The women watch the scene, surprised and not believing what they just saw. Tina, Henriette, and Kanai are stunned by the strength and skill he demonstrated alone. Leon continues advancing with agility, delivering precise strikes and eliminating the tarantulas one by one. He jumps, spins in the air, and attacks without hesitation, demonstrating total control of the situation. While the bodies of the monsters fall around him, a larger tarantula appears in the background, watching the scene while Henriette remains on alert. As Leon runs, the giant tarantula tries to escape at high speed. Henriette tries to stop it, but she is injured and struggling. Leon then jumps with precision. Leon leaps directly at the giant tarantula, which tries to flee. The creature is startled when it senses his approach, but it doesn't have time to react. Leon slices it from top to bottom with a precise strike, finishing the monster in mid-air. The scene ends with him calmly descending after the fatal attack. The three women watch in shock as Leon walks away calmly after defeating the tarantula. Henriette can hardly believe what she saw, thinking she might be dreaming. Tina confirms that the level of swordsmanship was comparable to Henriette's own. Surprised, she admits that, even for her, handling that alone would have been difficult. Kanai, still not fully understanding, asks if it's for real, and is visibly shaken when she realizes it is. Leon modestly says he knows how to use a sword a little, leaving Kanai incredulous with what she just heard. She remembers that he was just a beast tamer and never expected what she just witnessed. Meanwhile, a new threat appears behind Aruk and Iris. A tarantula suddenly leaps, and Henriette shouts for them to be careful. Aruk and Iris react quickly to the tarantula's attack. Without hesitation, one of them delivers a direct kick to the creature, throwing the monster far away. Everyone around is surprised by the girl's strength, especially Henriette, who watches the scene, not quite understanding what just happened. After seeing Aruk and Iris effortlessly defeat a tarantula, the entire group is in shock. Kanai questions what just happened, not believing it, while Henriette remains frozen, trying to process. Tina simply accepts it, saying the girls are strong and adorable. Leon watches everything from a distance, silently, and begins walking through the forest with a calm expression, while the leaves sway around him. Leon continues advancing through the forest, until a loud noise echoes between the trees. He stops and watches calmly. In front of him appears a giant tarantula, much bigger than the previous ones. clearly the leader of the group. The other girls also see the creature emerging and become alert to its presence. Everyone halts when they spot the creature coming from the forest. It's a colossal tarantula, much more threatening than the others. The queen tarantula, with a danger level of S-. The group is shocked, and even the more experienced members show surprise at the appearance of such a powerful enemy. The group goes on high alert when they realize they are not only dealing with the queen tarantula, but also several giant tarantulas surrounding them. The tension rises quickly, and everyone understands the danger. The light-haired woman suggests retreating, and Henriette immediately agrees, making it clear that the only sensible option now is to withdraw. Henriette tries to warn Leon to retreat as well, but before he can react, the group becomes surrounded by several huge tarantulas that emerge from the webs. The situation becomes critical, and everyone prepares to fight, knowing they are completely surrounded by monsters. Henriette tries to cut through the webs with a direct strike, but realizes they are extremely elastic and resistant. Kanai notices the danger and starts casting fire magic to burn the webs, determined to clear a path before they all get trapped. Kanai becomes desperate when she sees that her flames aren't working against the webs, which remain intact. Tina is quickly ensnared and immobilized, but even while trapped, she doesn't hesitate and tries to counterattack with a kick, while Henriette yells at her, concerned about the situation. Tina, trapped in the giant spider's webs, laments the situation and thinks she at least wanted to enjoy the hot springs with the children. But even surrounded and about to be attacked, she refuses to accept defeat so easily. As the creature approaches, she pulls her body forcefully, trying to escape on her own. Kanai attacks the spider with ice magic, casting a freezing blade that strikes the enemy. Even with the impact, the creature remains standing. Then, Leon calmly appears, raising 2 fingers, and activates his next spell, saying only one word: lightning. A powerful lightning bolt strikes the queen tarantula directly, causing an explosion of electrical energy. Everyone around watches in surprise as the creature's body starts to fall. The girls are stunned, and Tina just stares in silence, visibly impacted by what she just witnessed. The queen tarantula lies on the ground, still sparking from the blow. Tina thanks Kanai, thinking she was the one who cast the lightning spell, but is confused when she hears that Kanai doesn't even know how to use such a spell. The others are also surprised, not understanding where that power came from. Everyone looks at the boy in surprise, who stands facing the group with a calm expression. He smiles and says that he knows how to use a little magic, while in the background, the bodies of the defeated tarantulas lie. The women are shocked by the response, clearly not believing what they've heard. As everyone looks at the bodies of the defeated giant spiders, one of the warriors comments that she has many doubts about the boy. She says nothing about him makes sense, and that she doesn't even know where to start. The other 2 look at him with curious smiles while he is in the background, hugging the 2 beast girls. The boy praises the beast girls for their good work, gently petting their heads while they smile happily. Meanwhile, the others observe from the back and begin commenting to each other. They say he can locate enemies, fight with a sword, use magic, and still has beast companions by his side, practically a whole team on his own. One of them wonders if he's really just a child. The girls watch the boy and the beast children with admiration. One of them is so taken by him that she starts drooling and is called out by the other. The group then returns to focus on the mission. They analyze the huge carcass of the queen tarantula lying on the ground and conclude that it was the cause of the recent problems. Its presence scared off the other monsters in the forest, forcing them to migrate en masse toward the village. The boy explains that the lack of monsters in the forest wasn't only due to their fleeing, but because most were eaten by the spiders. If nothing had been done, they would have consumed everything there and then attacked the humans. He comments that the nearest village to the forest, called Regina, would have been their first target. The girl next to him adds that there probably aren't any monsters left. The boy says that it would be better to exterminate all the monsters for precaution. After lightly coughing, he whistles loudly with his fingers, catching the attention of the girl, who turns around surprised by the sound. The woman is startled by the loud noise and asks what that was. The boy calmly responds that it was him whistling and explains that this sound can attract monsters. The others recall hearing that same whistle just before the giant spider appeared. The girl with long hair comments that the sound was quite loud and asks how much area it can cover. When the girl asks about the whistle's range, he responds that it was the entire forest, all the others freeze immediately. After that, Henriette and her group didn't face only the tarantulas. They were attacked by all the monsters in the forest. An elder from the village reacts in shock upon hearing that they faced a queen tarantula, but he is relieved to see everyone safe. He praises the group, saying that he knew Lady Henriette's team would handle it. However, the girls insist that they were just helping and that they weren't the main reason for the victory. Henriette tries to explain to the elder that everything they said was true, but he laughs, thinking it was just another joke. One of the group members says that they eliminated almost all the monsters in the forest, so the village should be at peace for a good while. The old man is surprised, but seems to believe it. Soon after, everyone gathers and watches the village in the distance, relieved to be back. The group is taken to a traditional inn. The elder explains that it has the best hot spring in the village and that the entire place has been reserved just for them. He asks them to relax and enjoy it. Everyone seems happy with the treatment as they prepare to rest after the long mission. Everyone gets excited upon hearing about the hot spring. But before they can do anything, the most excited warrior takes the lead. She points directly to Leon, calling him without ceremony to enter the women's bath with her, leaving the others surprised and confused. Leon tries to warn her that he's a boy, but the woman insists, saying they fought together and should get to know each other better. And for her, that includes going to the bath naked. Even excited, she gets rejected directly when Leon says he cares about it, while another companion comments that he's already mature enough and won't change. They begin to argue about who can enter the women's bath. One of them remembers that young boys can go, so she suggests that only the little girl should go. But since the boy is going to the men's bath, this would also require his mascot to go. In the end, he accepts, somewhat without choice. But the two girls protest desperately, shaking him and refusing the idea. The girls continue arguing, breathless, while the other tries to stay calm, breathing deeply. A man gets irritated and tells the two to stop the confusion. Soon after, the scene shifts to show the peaceful and empty hot spring, with steam rising from the warm water. As they walk through a large building, the girls comment that Leon left before them. One complains, saying she wanted to spend more time with the children. The other responds that it was their fault he left early. Suddenly, a girl named Maria appears running and calls out to Henriette, looking surprised and excited to see them. Maria thanks the group for helping Leon on the mission. She says that if it weren't for them, he would have lost his life right there, since the threat was much bigger than expected. As she talks about what happened, the three girls look at Maria with suspicion. Sensing the strange atmosphere, she quickly changes the subject and announces that everyone will receive a special reward for the mission. Can I ask Maria if Leon will receive the same reward as they did? Maria tries to explain, saying that the mission was much more dangerous than expected, which is why the reward amount was increased. In the background, a guild employee says directly that no, he shouldn't receive the same. Henriette comments that everything happened as she imagined, and the others agree that it was good they went together. Henriette looks seriously at Maria and says that this case was mostly resolved by Leon. Her statement surprises Maria, who didn't expect this recognition from someone so experienced. Henriette continues and says that even a normal tarantula would have been difficult for a D-rank adventurer. She states that it was Leon who defeated the queen tarantula. Maria is speechless, clearly surprised. Then Henriette feigns doubt, making the other two laugh quietly while Maria tries to disguise her shock. Maria begins to reflect on what she heard. She admits that Henriette isn't the type of person who would make up something so absurd, even with Kanai's teasing. So looking back at the recent events, Maria decides that Leon should receive the full reward for the mission. Furthermore, she recommends that he be promoted immediately to rank A, or at least to rank B if that's too difficult. Maria starts thinking to herself, suspicious if they are exaggerating Leon's abilities just to ensure he gets the reward. But she realizes that if that were the case, they would have simply refused the prize. She understands that there would be no reason to lie like that. This leads Maria to consider the possibility that Leon really did defeat the queen tarantula on his own. She is surprised when she remembers that he seems to be only about 10 years old, and realizes that he is already a hot topic among the guild receptionists. Maria continues reflecting on Leon. She thinks that besides being D-rank at such a young age, he is also quite handsome, which draws attention, especially since they deal with so many rude men every day. To her, he's like a breath of fresh air. She imagines that when he grows up, he will have a noble aura, but she quickly corrects herself, realizing that it's not the time for such thoughts. Even without the monster incident, Maria believes that the rumors about him would spread anyway, especially after Henriette and her group had to intervene personally. Henriette believes that, even as a rank A adventurer, her words wouldn't be easily accepted, and that the guild staff would hardly believe right away what she said about Leon. Meanwhile, Maria decides that she will report the case to her superiors, but doesn't think they will listen. In the end, she concludes that the best thing to do is wait and see with her own eyes if the boy is truly as talented as they say. After that, Leon began accepting many missions. He participated in simple tasks like finding a goblin nest, gathering herbs for potions, and locating a missing piece of art. Since these missions were aimed at low-level adventurers, the receptionist found it difficult to measure his true strength based only on these tasks. The receptionist is surprised to hear that Leon eliminated all the goblins from the nest by accident. He shows the bodies, explaining that there were stronger goblins there. When analyzing one of them, she realizes it was a goblin lord, something that would normally require a group of experienced adventurers. To make matters worse, the goblin was killed with a single clean cut to the neck, which makes her wonder how a beast tamer could do that with a sword. Leon returns saying he collected the herbs and dumps a mountain of them on the counter, surprising the receptionist. When she asks how many he brought, he responds that it was around 1,000, as they requested as many as possible. The shock increases when she realizes that almost all of them are high-quality herbs used for advanced potions. Even specialists would have difficulty finding a few dozen per day, and he managed to get them all on his own in just a few hours. Leon hands over the recovered piece of art, saying he had to defeat the bandits to get it. The receptionist is shocked again, asking how he keeps doing these things by accident. He reveals that the gang's hideout was at the location, so he took the opportunity to capture the thieves as well. The group in question was the Madhouse, a dangerous gang that had been expanding and that even experienced adventurers avoided facing. Leon even managed to capture one of the gang's executives all alone, without even needing a team. The captured man, still trembling in fear, whispers that Leon is a monster. The receptionist, seeing the scene and remembering everything that happened, finally accepts the truth. Everything that was said about Leon was real. Leon walks calmly when he notices that Sura, the slime that sits on his head, is limp and weak. Concerned, he picks him up in his hands and realizes that he isn't feeling well. The cat girls also become frightened when they see his condition, remembering that he was fine earlier. Leon tries to understand what is happening with Sura, wondering if he might be sick or have eaten something strange, since the slime usually feeds on small animals and insects. The girls watch worriedly, until, suddenly, Sura begins to glow in Leon's hands, leaving everyone confused by the unexpected situation. Leon confirms that Sura is indeed glowing, but still doesn't understand why. He thinks it would be best to seek help from someone more experienced, perhaps a veteran beast tamer or a guild employee. With that in mind, he and the girls rush to find an answer. Leon arrives at the guild running with the girls and goes straight to speak with the receptionist. She is surprised to see Sura glowing and asks if he is sick. Leon explains that he started glowing suddenly, and that he doesn't know why. The receptionist examines the situation carefully. The receptionist examines Sura and says that he is evolving. She explains that monsters can evolve, but it is rare for beast tamers to accomplish this. Even though he is just a slime, the fact that he is evolving shows how well Leon has been taking care of him. As he listens to this, Leon thinks that, even though he has killed many monsters in his past life, he has never seen one evolve with his own eyes. Sura changes color and turns completely red, surprising everyone there. The receptionist recognizes that he has evolved into a red slime, a rare species. On the stats sheet that appears, his attributes are ridiculously high, with strength, agility, and magic at level A, and resistance and dexterity at level S. She is shocked, while Leon just watches. While everyone is in panic over the slime's transformation, the woman warns Leon to be careful, saying that evolved creatures tend to become aggressive and may even disobey their masters. She comments that even A-rank adventurers would have trouble against a red slime. At that moment, Sura moves and says that he's feeling strong, surprising everyone around him even more. Leon asks if the slime is feeling anything strange, but he replies that everything is normal. After a few tests, Sura starts bouncing happily on Leon's head. The evaluator watches everything and concludes that everything is fine with him. The girls are also relieved to see that the slime is well. The receptionist reminds Leon of a message. The guildmaster asked to see him in his office the next time he showed up. Leon finds it strange and asks if it was really the guildmaster. The scene shifts to the man in his office, looking tired as he sifts through papers. The guildmaster of Liberto, named Denver, receives a group and confirms the identity of a boy named Leon. He looks at the boy with suspicion, thinking he just looks like an ordinary child. Despite this, the woman accompanying him asserts that his record is impeccable. Denver still has doubts about promoting Leon to senior adventurer, thinking it's an exaggeration, even after hearing that he defeated a goblin lord. The woman counters, saying that goblins should not be underestimated, especially a lord, who is usually dangerous, and always comes with several others. She reinforces that even experienced adventurers struggle against this kind of enemy. Denver agrees that it's strange for someone to defeat a monster that usually requires an entire group, but he reveals that he called Leon in specifically to clarify this. The woman questions if he really fought alone, and the boy remains silent, while two twin girls appear next to him. She says that they also participated in the fight. While Denver makes it clear that he wasn't referring to the slime or the children, the woman introduces the small being as a red slime. He seems surprised that he didn't recognize this immediately, and she sighs, questioning how someone like him could be the guildmaster. He tries to justify it, saying he has good subordinates, but she retorts, saying that he just throws all the work onto them. Denver insists on knowing if anyone besides Leon and the girls participated in the battle. He tries to reassure the boy, saying he won't be angry. He just wants the truth. Leon, with a calm look, affirms that this is the truth. Denver comments that Maria is asking for Leon's immediate promotion to rank B or higher, but he finds this complicated. He explains that it usually takes more than a year for someone to reach rank C, and that rising to rank B means becoming the face of the guild, something that requires more than just strength. The woman beside him understands his point, acknowledging that the responsibility is significant. The woman suggests that if rank B is too much, Leon could at least be promoted to rank C. She mentions that, besides the Goblin Lord, he also defeated a Queen Tarantula, which would be more than enough. Denver is surprised by this and questions the veracity of the information, prompting the woman to react firmly, asking if he's calling Henriette a liar. Denver hesitates at the suggestion of promoting Leon to rank C, trying to justify himself cautiously. The woman scolds him for complicating something so simple and calls him indecisive. Leon, observing the entire discussion, comments with a smile that they could have solved everything before calling him. Henriette walks through the halls with the paperwork for Leon's promotion to rank C. She thinks that, knowing the boy, he will continue to rack up achievements and prove that the decision was correct, even for the indecisive guildmaster. Excited, she imagines that this could lead to a better evaluation and a raise, already dreaming of buying a branded purse. Leon receives congratulations for his promotion to rank C. Some of the warriors comment that, although they recognize the guildmaster's effort, they think he deserves something higher. One of them even says he could have been promoted further, but understands that, coming from that master, this was the maximum. While Leon talks to the girls who congratulated him, one of them asks if he was also summoned that day. He confirms, and they say they also received a summons. Soon after, everyone gathers in a hall, where a guild representative begins reading an official announcement before a large crowd. The guild representative announces that everyone has been summoned to accept a new mission. The goal is to investigate a recent series of kidnappings in the city. He explains that Liberto is a well-controlled place, with little crime, and such cases are extremely rare. Nevertheless, there has been a noticeable increase in attempts and successful kidnappings. The representative informs them that the mission comes directly from the region's lord, being considered high priority due to Liberto's security. He explains that the guild preferred to summon higher-level adventurers for the quality of their work. However, one of the attendees raises his hand and questions why lower-level adventurers weren't mobilized as well, pointing out that there are only intermediates and veterans present. The representative acknowledges the previous suggestion as valid and reveals that before the regional lord's request, the guild had already received a request from someone connected to one of the victims. He says that some adventurers were sent to investigate, but so far, all have disappeared, which causes a stir among the crowd. The guild clarifies that the mission was restricted to adventurers of rank C or higher, due to the risk involved. One of the attendees agrees, but another adventurer, visibly irritated, questions why children like Leon and the twins are there. Leon observes him and recognizes the man from a previous encounter, recalling that he's seen him before. The adventurer begins criticizing the guild for promoting Leon to rank C, saying it proves how out of control the evaluations are. Another adventurer confirms that Leon is indeed at that rank, which makes the man even angrier. A woman joins the conversation with sarcasm, saying that now she understands. Since he can't even get promoted to rank A, he must be blaming the guild for everything. This makes him furious, and he reacts immediately. The warrior Grizz defends Leon, saying that he has the abilities that justify being rank C or even higher. She assures that the promotion was deserved, with no pressure involved. The adventurer, still skeptical, indirectly accuses the guild of promoting him just because of influence, but then disguises it with a smile, as if he understood the situation. Irritated, the adventurer mocks again, pointing to the twins and asking if they are also strong like rank C adventurers. One of them, with a stern expression, asks Leon if she should kill the man, while Leon calmly responds, asking her not to kill him. Leon explains that the twins are his beast companions, which is normal for a beast tamer. Irritated, the other adventurer threatens Leon, saying that if he gets in the way, he'll end up dead. One of the twins asks again if she should eliminate him, but Leon says it was just a threat and that they shouldn't worry. The man then decides to leave, saying that he's finished there. Leon and the twins head out into the streets to investigate, following the guild's orders. Each group was tasked with conducting their own investigation, but with the obligation to submit a daily report. The goal was to ensure a quick response if something suspicious arose. Leon starts by observing the area, wondering if anyone is acting strangely. As he walks with the twins, Leon notices some suspicious movement right away. He sees two hooded men approaching a lone man. In a matter of seconds, the suspects grab him and knock him out, quickly dragging him into an alley. Leon watches from a distance as the kidnappers use a cloth soaked with drugs to knock out the victim, and realizes that they are quite skilled. He instructs the twins to get ready to hide. Being part feline, they are good at stealth, something he had already trained them for. Leon notices a cart leaving the city with a suspicious burlap sack in the back. Due to the recent kidnappings, baggage inspection at the gates is strict. He notices that the sack should have been checked as part of the security measures, raising suspicion about what could be hidden inside. Leon is puzzled that the cart passed through the gate with the suspicious sack and decides to act. With the twins, he runs to follow the cart, which is already moving away along the road toward the forest. Leon and the twins follow discreetly through the forest until they find a large mansion surrounded by iron gates. Watching from a distance, he realized that it would be risky to invade alone, and remembers that he would be reprimanded for acting on his own. Determined, he concludes that the best thing now is to return and report everything to the guild. After reporting everything to the guild, Leon returns with a group of adventurers. One of the warriors questions if the indicated location is really correct, and Leon confirms without hesitation, pointing out that it is just ahead. Everyone stays alert as they approach the hideout. Upon reaching the location, one of the adventurers mocks, saying there's nothing there. Leon explains that the building is hidden by a barrier and can't be seen just by looking. Even the mage in the group is surprised that he can't sense any mana, recognizing that it's an advanced barrier. Some still doubt, but begin considering the possibility when they see that there aren't even any visible signs of construction. The arrogant warrior insists that Leon was lying and says that they've all been deceived by him. Trying to prove that there's nothing there, he sarcastically extends his hand, but ends up touching the invisible barrier. Surprised by the impact, he screams while Leon tries to warn him too late. Upon touching the barrier, the warrior completely disappears before everyone's eyes, leaving the group stunned. A portal forms at the location, revealing the hidden entrance. On the other side, the warrior realizes he's been detected and panics, realizing that the enemies saw him immediately. Leon understands that the barrier was designed to alert enemies when someone crosses it, so he decides they need to destroy it first. One of the adventurers prepares her magic and conjures a powerful cyclone, which begins tearing apart the magical barrier while the others protect themselves from the gusts. With the barrier destroyed, the hidden fortress is finally revealed to the group. Leon is surprised to realize that one of the mages cast an advanced spell without even needing to recite an incantation, but there's no time to think about that. The warrior in front calls for everyone to advance together and invade the place. The warrior moves forward with determination at the front of the group and, with a powerful sword strike, destroys the fortress gates. The debris flies as the rest of the team gets ready to invade. The offensive begins in full force. With the gate destroyed, the adventurers invade the fortress. The bandits inside realize the intruders' presence and quickly arm themselves. Their leader shouts for everyone to eliminate the intruders, and the enemy group rushes to face the invaders in a direct confrontation. The bandits underestimate the adventurers, thinking they would be easy prey, and confidently advance to attack as a group. However, they quickly realize their mistake. The adventurers react with precision and strength, defeating several enemies with quick and accurate strikes, turning the fight in their favor right from the start. During the battle, one of the bandits panics when he realizes that the adventurers are much stronger than they appeared. He is quickly subdued, and the other enemies begin retreating in the face of the group's strength. Meanwhile, one of the adventurers prepares a powerful spell in the background, signaling that the offensive is far from over. During the fight, one of the adventurers notices something strange. Despite the enemy's strength, they lack technique and seem inexperienced in real combat. Leon analyzes the situation and concludes that, even without skill, they can resist because of their high physical attributes, meaning they are strong but untrained. This raises suspicions about who they really are. During the battle, one of the adventurers becomes frustrated when he sees that, even though he's rank B, he's struggling against seemingly common enemies. He wonders how they're losing the fight. Meanwhile, Leon's slime attacks with force, hitting two enemies at once and easily knocking them down. The adventurers are surprised to see Leon's slime fighting so strongly, creating great chaos on the battlefield. Meanwhile, Leon and the twins attack with precision. Some allies question how he's able to use magic being a beast tamer, as that's not common. The unexpected strength of the group continues to confuse the enemies. The twins charge at the enemies with precise and powerful strikes, knocking down several adult men with kicks and punches. The bandits are in shock at seeing so much strength coming from children and start to wonder who these girls are. Surprise dominates the battlefield as everyone recognizes that they are much stronger than they seem. With the victory secured, the female adventurers comment on how strong and cute Leon's children are. The leader gets excited with the mood and says they can't lose either. Soon after, the defeated enemies appear tied up and surrendered, marking the end of the battle in the fortress. The group starts analyzing the captured enemies. They recognize that they belong to a local gang in Liberto, but they find it strange that they were involved in such a large kidnapping, especially since they had been missing for some time. Additionally, they notice that their strength seems abnormal. The leader then says that before anything else, they need to make sure the kidnapped victims are okay. The adventurers begin interrogating the captured bandits, asking where the kidnapped people are. One of the men insists that they didn't kidnap anyone, saying that it would be impossible to sell the victims due to the strict control in the city. He emphasizes that no black market merchant would deal with them out of fear. This leaves the group confused by the situation. One of the bandits wakes up confused, not understanding where he is or why he's tied up. Meanwhile, the adventurers realize that the interrogation isn't getting them anywhere. The group leader decides that the best course of action is to search their hideout for clues, as the prisoners seem disoriented or are pretending not to know anything. After searching the entire location, the adventurers find only a small group of kidnapped people, far fewer than expected according to the reports. The captured bandits continue denying any involvement and claim they don't remember kidnapping anyone. As a result, the group begins to suspect that there's more to the situation than it appears, and they all agree that something strange is going on. Leon observes the bandits and concludes that if what they are saying is true, then they have completely forgotten everything they did. This leads the group to suspect that perhaps they were controlled by someone. The idea starts to make sense to everyone, and it becomes clear that there's a greater force behind the kidnappings. One of the adventurers asks how the bandits could have been controlled, since that would require a brainwashing spell, something very difficult, which almost no one can use. He also comments that he's never heard of someone capable of controlling so many people at once. While everyone thinks this is nearly impossible, Leon casually reveals that he can use this kind of magic a little, as if it's no big deal. Leon comments that, even in his past life, very few humans were capable of using mental control spells as advanced as the one cast on these people. He asserts that the culprit is among them, which catches everyone's attention. One of the adventurers agrees and says it's worth listening to what Leon has to say. When asked if he has any idea who might be behind the control, he answers that he does. Everyone is shocked to hear Leon say that the culprit is among them. The group reacts with surprise and starts to stir. Leon, without hesitation, prepares a spell confidently. He summons a fire lance, pointing directly as the magic forms with precision and power. Soon after the spell is cast, something strange happens. A dark cloud rises, and many wonder if it's birds. But the confusion is interrupted when they realize the truth. They are bats flying at high speed, surprising everyone in the area. Leon casts a powerful fire spell, which directly hits the mysterious enemies. The flames reveal that these creatures, which before seemed like just bats, transform and assume human forms, falling to the ground engulfed in flames. One of the adventurers is shocked, thinking they were people, but Leon responds coldly that they weren't. As everyone watches in shock at the burning bodies, a figure rises from the flames. He reveals himself with bat wings and a dark appearance. His red eyes and sharp fangs make it clear what he is. Everyone is shocked to realize that the enemies weren't simple monsters, but vampires. The vampires fully reveal themselves, slowly walking toward the group with cold and threatening looks. Everyone is in shock. No one expected to see an extinct race still alive. The red-haired girl gulps, feeling the tension rise. As the vampires advance, an explanation begins. They are undead creatures, highly intelligent, who feed on human blood. Despite being feared and thought to be extinct, here they were. They say that those who have their blood drained by them become their servants, bound under their control. As the group tries to understand the situation, one of the women realizes that the kidnappers were actually being manipulated by the vampires themselves. They were kidnapping people to have their blood drained. The vampire leader confirms the deduction with a smile, praising the intelligence of the humans, but making it clear that their superiority is undeniable. The vampires confirm that they were controlling the kidnappers. One of the men comments that even a single vampire was considered a calamity-level threat. Another warrior, even knowing this, says he heard that their physical strength isn't so great and sees the situation as a perfect opportunity to attack, now that the vampire's servants have been captured. The adventurers go on the offensive, confident that they can win now that the vampire's servants have been neutralized. Meanwhile, the vampires themselves watch the scene, laughing, demonstrating calm and disdain. One of them comments that it was bold to underestimate them, indicating that the real fight is about to begin. The vampires advance with incredible speed, catching everyone by surprise. In the blink of an eye, they are in the midst of the adventurers, easily immobilizing some of them. One of the vampires approaches a frightened young man and grabs him by the neck, saying with a sinister smile that he will also be transformed into one of their servants. The vampire tries to bite the young man to transform him, but the moment his fangs touch the skin, something unexpected happens. A bright light bursts forth, and a metallic sound echoes. The vampire is surprised and pulls back with a shocked expression, while everyone around, both allies and enemies, watches in astonishment, trying to understand what just happened. The vampires become confused and panicked as they realize something is wrong. Their fangs break when trying to bite the humans, and the bodies of the victims seem too hard to bite into. The boy, calm, explains that he expected this and cast a defensive spell in advance. He states that, unable to suck blood, the vampires also can't control anyone. The vampires become irritated and don't believe that their attacks have failed. One of them yells that their fangs can pierce even steel, and no spell should stop them. Realizing that the boy is the one who thwarted their plans, they shift their focus and decide to attack him first, pointing out that he was the one who discovered them. The boy goes on the offensive with quick and precise movements, striking the vampires with his sword. They are caught completely off guard and can barely react, being knocked down one by one as he advances without hesitation. The boy finishes the combat, standing between the bodies of the vampires, all of whom have fallen at once. The people around are in shock, commenting on his incredible strength and how everything happened in an instant. Many didn't even see his movements. They only noticed the result. The boy notices that one of the vampires is still alive and warns him not to pretend to be dead. The vampire reacts with anger but is surprised to realize he was discovered so easily. The vampires begin to realize that their wounds aren't regenerating as they should. The boy explains that he applied a makeshift enchantment to his sword, designed to nullify the regeneration ability of the undead. He watches the fallen enemies and thinks calmly about what to do next. The boy thinks about finishing off the vampires, but considers that it might be better to keep them alive to find out where the other missing people are. The group leader agrees with the idea, thinking it's prudent. However, one of the wounded vampires starts to laugh and rises with a grim expression, warning not to underestimate him. The vampire, with his already damaged body, begins to contort with a crazy smile. He declares that he would rather die than be captured by mere humans. Then, he begins to self-destruct, leaving everyone present shocked by his extreme decision. The group heads to an authority room and starts reporting everything that happened. The man, sitting visibly surprised, questions if it was really true. He says no one has ever seen a vampire before and wonders if they might have been confusing it with another type of monster. The red-haired girl firmly affirms that she's sure of what she saw. The man tries to suggest that the monsters could have been succubi, since they also have the ability to control people. But the girl directly denies, explaining that succubi are only female and wouldn't have that much strength. She also reinforces that the monsters themselves said they were vampires. The man, somewhat embarrassed, admits that he should have said incubi. The man still tries to downplay the situation, suggesting that perhaps the monsters were just trying to show off by calling themselves vampires. The woman beside him loses her patience and tells him to admit it already. She says that dragging this out is a waste of time. The man seems cornered and sighs. One of the girls then confirms that they've already resolved the situation, and another adds, asking if that's not what really matters in the end. The man tries to close the topic by saying that now everything is resolved, and there won't be any more kidnappings. But he's immediately yanked by the ear by the woman, who mocks his statement. The girls explain that they only found part of the victims and don't believe those were the only vampires. They suspect there's another hideout where the rest of the people are being held. The group gathers with the guild leader and comments that there are likely many more kidnapped people than they thought. They say that luckily, vampires don't usually kill their victims right away, as they prefer to constantly feed on their blood. Even so, the biggest problem remains finding where the other captives are. The man in the chair, with a tense expression, starts to raise a new possibility, saying, "What if?" The girl reveals a worrying theory, while everyone listens attentively. She believes the vampires have evolved. This makes the atmosphere more tense, causing the guild leader's eyes to widen in shock, while the woman beside him adopts a more serious posture. The entire group seems to reflect in silence on what this change might mean going forward. The man, slightly nervous, says that the situation needs to be reported to the Lord immediately. The girl offers to deliver the news personally, saying it would be the quickest way. He thanks her, relieved, while entrusting the mission to her, calling her Henriette. She nods in confirmation, accompanied by the other warriors in the background. After making the report to the guild, the more experienced adventurers were put on standby until the next steps were decided. Meanwhile, the boy thought about the enemy's next moves, since the vampire fortress had been destroyed. He returns to the base, opens the door, and is greeted enthusiastically by his comrades. The boy casually mentions that the mission seemed like a kidnapping investigation and says that he ended up taking down the hideout of the culprits. The innkeeper, Luluka, asks curiously about the mission and laughs fondly at how he tells the story, thinking it's cute and admiring how he already seems like a real adventurer. Even though she thinks he's a real adventurer, Luluka thinks the tasks he's been taking are still simple, like gathering herbs or searching for lost people and animals. The boy listens to this in silence, but she smiles and says she believes that one day he will become a hero, just like the legendary Leon. Meanwhile, the two cat girls watch the scene and approach, catching Luluka's attention. The two cat girls ask eagerly for something that seems to be customary. Luluka laughs, saying they really love that, and goes to the shelf to get what they asked for. After looking for a moment, she returns smiling and hands the item to them, who are delighted to receive it. Luluka asks them to leave the book at the counter when they're done. The boy thanks her, and later he reads the book with the cat girls, who seem very excited about the story. Even the small creature on his head seems interested. He notices how much they enjoy that book and finds it curious that even Sura is involved in the reading. The girls excitedly show the book they were reading, The Adventures of Leon the Great. They point to the hero on the cover, saying he looks like the boy. He looks at the image and thinks they don't look alike at all, but is surprised by the comparison. The three continue reading together, and the boy notices that several details of the story are wrong, like Leon's origin. Still, the girls stay engrossed. especially in the part where Leon reaches the Demon King's castle, which is described as a terrifying figure. They read attentively, completely immersed in the story. While the story shows a demon king with a bear body, lion head, and snake tail, the boy recalls that, in fact, he resembled more of a giant human. The final battle ends with Leon's victory, bringing peace to the world. The girls, thrilled by the ending, hug the boy happily, praising him as if he were the hero himself. During the night, the boy sleeps soundly next to the girls until he's woken up by a noise coming from the window. He gets up confused and notices something strange outside. The girls also wake up scared and ask what's happening, while he walks toward the door to check. The boy walks down the corridor until he's surprised by Luluka, who also woke up because of the noise. She holds a lantern and looks worried. He tells her to stay there, as it might be dangerous, and moves forward cautiously to investigate what's happening. The boy reaches the door of a suspicious room and notices it's locked. Without hesitation, he breaks the lock with a strike. Upon entering, he finds a man in a dark cloak standing next to someone lying on the bed. The stranger, with a smile on his face, seems surprised and excited to see his prey coming to him that night. Luluka appears nervously, asking for an explanation, and worried about the chaos in the inn. The boy warns her that it's a vampire, but she only realizes the danger when she sees the sinister man approaching slowly. Frightened, she starts to run, while the vampire follows with a threatening presence. The injured man desperately warns that the vampire will drain everyone's blood. Luluka panics when she realizes the danger is real and says they need to escape. Meanwhile, the vampire watches the boy with an interested look, saying that from the scent of his blood, he can tell he's not an ordinary child. The vampire reveals that he wants to drink the boy's blood to get closer to the Lord, the Vampire King. He explains that after years of hiding, the 6 arch-vampires are about to achieve this goal. With a confident smile, he claims that one of them, perhaps himself, will evolve and become the new lord that night. The boy realizes that he's dealing with an arch-vampire, one of the most dangerous species in the hierarchy. Even so, he isn't intimidated. Without caring about the enemy's plans, he draws his sword firmly and makes it clear that he won't allow his blood to be used for any ritual. Without hesitation, the boy charges forward with speed, surprising the arch-vampire with a direct strike. The sword pierces the enemy's defenses, who screams in pain and astonishment, not believing he was hit so easily. The arch-vampire is in shock as he realizes he's been wounded. He staggers, incredulous that he was hit, and becomes frantic when he notices that the wound isn't healing as it should. Irritated and confused, he screams and transforms into a swarm of bats, fleeing the scene quickly. The vampire's henchmen are ordered to capture the girls, but as they approach, they are surprised. The 2 girls react quickly and charge with precise kicks, knocking down the enemies with ease, leaving everyone around them bewildered by what just happened. The boy seizes the opening and moves quickly, driving his weapon straight into the arch-vampire's chest. The impact is strong, hitting a vital point. The enemy's eyes widen in shock and pain, unable to understand how he was so severely injured. The arch-vampire, mortally wounded, laughs through the pain and admits that he never believed he would be defeated. The boy firmly says that he wasn't much different from an ordinary vampire. Before dying, the enemy warns that the night's party has already started, and another arch-vampire will become the new lord and hunt him down. After the battle, the boy looks out the window at the bodies of the fallen vampires outside. He calmly leaves the room while Luluka is still recovering from the shock. When she asks what happened, he responds directly that they killed the enemies. Her reaction is one of pure shock, realizing that this is exactly what happened. The boy decides they can't stop here. He says he's going to hunt the other enemies that are still left and ask them to wake everyone up and take the people to hide in the basement storage. He looks determined, showing that he's ready to face whatever comes next. Meanwhile, in a bar, a very drunk woman says she can't drink anymore. The bartender, used to the scene, comments that she always overdoes it and asks why she doesn't look for a good man instead of drinking herself into oblivion. The woman seems frustrated, asking if there's no interesting adventurer around. The drunk woman complains that all adventurers are rude and dirty men and says none of them are her type. When the bartender asks what her ideal type is, she answers firmly with a smile on her face. She really likes handsome boys. The woman continues rambling, saying she doesn't like adult men or boys, but rather the exact moment when a boy is turning into an adult. This makes everyone around uncomfortable. The bartender, already used to it, sighs and says that if she kept quiet, she'd actually be a pretty woman. Suddenly, a scream grabs everyone's attention in the bar. The bar is shocked as a man enters with another unconscious person in his arms. The woman immediately recognizes him as a vampire and goes on high alert. Scared but determined, she screams for everyone to get away, revealing that this guy is a dangerous creature. The bar fills with murmurs as the vampire is identified, and people start questioning whether he really exists, since they thought vampires were extinct. Upon realizing that the woman who warned them is an experienced adventurer, everyone begins to believe her words. The vampire then seems to confirm that what the woman said is true, while continuing to manipulate the situation with a smile. The vampire smiles in satisfaction as he sees so many people gathered in the bar, calling everyone excited prey. The woman senses his magical power and realizes that he's much stronger than the vampires they've faced before. She's shocked as she considers that he might be from an even higher class, perhaps one of the arch-vampires. The vampire stares at the adventurer with a predatory look, saying that she looks especially tasty. He smiles confidently and claims he won't let her escape. Feeling the real threat, she reacts quickly and runs at full speed, determined not to be caught so easily. The adventurer runs through the streets, frustrated with herself for being drunk at this critical moment. Even though she stumbles a bit, she forces her body to keep moving and hurries out of the bar, trying to escape from the vampire behind her. The woman is surprised by the vampire's speed as he appears in front of her with a confident smile. Even though she knows she has no real chance of winning in her current state, she stands firm and decides to face the enemy, ready to try whatever she can.
Subscribe to the channel to support our work because it takes a lot of work to produce these quality videos. Thank you for everything and see you in the next video.